Oregon, a land of misty forests, rugged coastlines, and winding mountain passes. Beneath its beauty lies a darker truth, woven from tragedy, despair, and restless spirits that refuse to leave. Tonight, we descend into the shadows to explore Oregon's most chilling locations, where despair carved itself into stone walls, forest groves, bridges, and lonely roads. These are not just haunted places, they are sites scarred by loss, suicide, and the echoes of lives cut short. As we step into these stories, listen carefully, because some say the spirits of Oregon's lost still whisper in the wind. Perched high above the Columbia River Gorge, the Vista House stands as both a monument to natural beauty and a place of sorrow. Constructed in 1918, this stone observatory was meant as a rest stop for weary travelers and a tribute to the pioneers who braved the rugged wilderness. With its sweeping views of the gorge, elegant architecture, and commanding presence, it quickly became a landmark beloved by locals and visitors alike. Yet, beneath its grandeur, the Vista House harbors a darker reputation. For decades, it has been the site of despair and tragedy, where lost souls have chosen to end their journeys. Today, it is not only a historic structure, but also a place whispered about for its ghosts and lingering sadness. The Columbia River Gorge itself is breathtaking, carved by ancient floods and winds, a landscape where cliffs rise dramatically above the water. Standing at the stone railing of the Vista House, one can feel both the magnificence and the menace of the scene, the wind howling up from the canyon, the dizzying drop below, the vast river stretching out into the horizon. Locals know its reputation, though it is rarely spoken of openly. Some say the building itself, with its solemn beauty and heavy stone walls, carries an energy that amplifies human emotion, magnifying grief as easily as wonder. Visitors often report unnerving sensations as they wander the viewing decks or walk the echoing halls inside. The most common experience is the sound of screaming carried on the wind. At first, many assume it is simply the natural whistling of air funneled through the gorge. But then they notice the pitch. The sound is distinctly human, filled with anguish and terror. Witnesses describe turning toward the railing, expecting to see someone crying out, only to find the space empty. The screams fade as quickly as they begin, leaving behind a chill that seeps into the bones. Others have reported ghostly apparitions appearing at the stone railings. These figures are often described as solitary men or women standing quietly, gazing out at the gorge as if contemplating something heavy. In some cases, the figure leans forward, hands resting on the cold stone, as though preparing to climb over. But when concerned witnesses move closer, the figures dissolve into mist, leaving only the echo of footsteps or the lingering impression of sorrow. These apparitions are said to vanish most often in the fading light of dusk, a time when the gorge seems both alive with color and shrouded in shadows. Inside the Vista House, the paranormal activity is just as unsettling. Employees and nighttime caretakers have spoken of hearing footsteps on the upper levels when no one is present. Heavy boots seem to march slowly across the observation decks, their sound reverberating through the hollow structure. On occasion, soft whispers accompany the footsteps, fragments of conversation or quiet sobbing carried faintly on the air. Objects have also been reported moving without explanation, such as chairs shifting slightly or doors creaking open against a windless stillness. Some of the most chilling accounts come from drivers traveling the historic Columbia River Highway near Crown Point. They have reported seeing a person standing on the edge of the overlook in the dead of night. Fearing the worst, drivers have pulled over, only to discover that the figure is going to vanish without so much as a trace. A few even describe nearly swerving off the road, startled by the sudden appearance of a pale figure in the headlights, only to realize there is no one there at all. These phantom encounters have made the road itself a place of caution, especially for those familiar with the tales. The lore of the Vista House has deepened over time, blending tragedy with the supernatural. Some believe the restless spirits are those who leaped from the cliffs, forever tied to the place where they ended their lives. Others suggest the site is something more ancient, that the gorge itself holds a spirit, a powerful energy that draws vulnerable souls to its edge. Native American legends speak of the gorge as a place of both creation and destruction, a land forged by elemental forces. In that view, the Vista House merely sits atop something that has always been a threshold between worlds. Even paranormal investigators have been drawn to the site, hoping to capture evidence of its haunting. Reports of strange electromagnetic readings, sudden drops in temperature, and unexplained voices on recording devices add a layer of modern mystery to the old legends. Skeptics dismiss these accounts as the result of imagination or natural phenomena, the wind, the echoes, the psychological weight of standing at such a dramatic precipice. Yet, for those who have experienced the phantom screams or glimpsed the vanishing figures, no rational explanation can erase the memory. For most visitors, the Vista House remains a place of beauty, a jewel of architecture set against one of Oregon's most stunning landscapes. Families stop to take photographs, couples linger at the railings, and tourists marvel at the sweeping vistas. Yet, beneath the laughter and awe, there lingers an unspoken sense of melancholy. It is as though the walls themselves remember the sorrow carried here, and the wind bears the voices of those who never left. The Vista House continues to stand proudly, a beacon above the gorge, but its legacy is haunted. It is a reminder that even the most breathtaking views can conceal shadows, and that beauty and tragedy often share the same stage. For those who come here unaware, the experience is often one of wonder. But for those who know the whispers and the legends, every gust of wind carries with it the echo of the past, of screams that will not fade, and of figures forever waiting at the railings before dissolving into the mist. The Oregon City Bridge rises gracefully over the Willamette River, its elegant arches and historical charm making it one of Oregon's most iconic crossings. But beneath its beauty lies a darker story, one of sorrow, tragedy, and whispers that continue to unsettle those who travel across it. Since its construction in the early 20th century, the bridge has not only carried cars and pedestrians, but also the weight of countless lost lives. For decades, it has been a site where people struggling with despair have chosen to end their stories, leaving behind an unsettling presence that lingers long after their final steps. By day, the bridge appears serene, a place where sunlight glints off the steel and the water flows peacefully below. Tourists admire its architecture, and locals treat it as a familiar landmark, a part of the city's character. Yet, as the sun dips behind the horizon and the night spreads across the water, the atmosphere changes. A chill settles in, and the bridge seems to transform into something else entirely. Less a crossing and more a gateway between the living and the dead. Drivers who make the late-night trip across often report eerie encounters that defy explanation. Many tell of seeing a lone figure standing silently on the edge of the bridge, hands gripping the rail, body leaning forward as though ready to jump. The instinctive reaction is to slow down, to call out, to prepare, to intervene. But before headlights can fully illuminate the figure, it vanishes. No sound of footsteps, no splash in the river below, just empty space, as though the person was never there. Some drivers even claim to see multiple shadowy silhouettes, lined up along the railing, watching as cars pass beneath the glow of the lamps. Pedestrians, to describe unnerving experiences. The bridge walkway can feel isolated, especially at night when traffic is sparse. People crossing on foot have reported the distinct sensation of being followed, echoes of footsteps keeping pace just behind them. When they turn to look, the path is empty, lit only by the dim pools of light from the lamps above. A few claim to have heard whispered voices carried on the wind, words they cannot quite make out, as though fragments of conversations from the past still cling to the bridge's concrete and steel. Perhaps the most unsettling accounts come from those who pause in the middle of the bridge and look down at the river below. Some say they've seen a figure in the water, floating just beneath the surface, only to disappear when they blink. Others describe ripples spreading across the current, even when the river is calm, as though something unseen has disturbed it. A few especially chilling stories tell of apparitions climbing up from the water itself, reaching toward the bridge before dissolving into mist. Animals appear particularly sensitive to the strange energy that clings to the site, Locals walking their dogs at night often find their pets growling, barking, or refusing to set foot on the bridge at all. Some animals stop dead in their tracks, their ears pinned back and their bodies trembling, staring into the darkness as though they see something their owners cannot. This behavior has led many to believe that the spirits of those who perished there still wander the area, visible only to creatures more attuned to the unseen. The weight of history gives the hauntings an even deeper resonance. Stories passed down through the years tell of the bridge's role as both a symbol of connection and a site of despair. Each tragedy leaves behind more than just grief, imprints the location with layers of sorrow that refuse to fade. Paranormal investigators who have spent time at the bridge speak of overwhelming feelings of heaviness, like being wrapped in a blanket of despair. Some claim their equipment picks up faint cries or the sound of footsteps when no one is present, while others describe sudden cold spots that linger even in the height of summer. Locals often avoid the bridge after dark, not out of superstition but from a deep, unspoken respect for what it represents. It has become a place of memory, where the sadness of the past lingers alongside the rush of traffic and the steady flow of the river. For some, crossing it late at night feels less like a practical journey and more like an encounter with the unknown, a reminder that certain places bear the weight of human suffering in ways that can never be erased. Hidden deep within Portland's Forest Park, surrounded by towering evergreens and tangled undergrowth, sits a ruin draped in moss and legend. Known as the Witch's Castle, these crumbling stone walls have fascinated hikers, ghost hunters, and storytellers for generations. On the surface, the ruins appear to be nothing more than the remnants of an old ranger station, left to decay in the damp Pacific Northwest climate. But to those who dare to linger too long among its shadows, the Witch's Castle is far more than a ruin. It is a place heavy with death, sorrow, and an energy that refuses to fade. The story of this place begins not with witches, but with blood. In the mid-1800s, when Oregon was still wild and untamed, a man named Danford Bouch lived in the area with his family. What began as a pioneer's dream turned to nightmare when Bouch's daughter fell in love with a young man named Mortimer Stump. Bouch forbade the romance, but the pair eloped anyway. Furious, Bouch shot his new son-in-law in cold blood, right in front of witnesses. He was later hanged for the crime, the first legal hanging in Portland's history. Local lore insists that the land was cursed from that moment, tainted by the blood feud and tragedy. Later, in the 1930s, the Works Progress Administration built the stone structure that would eventually become known as the Witch's Castle. By the 1960s, it was abandoned, left to rot in the damp forest, where nature and legend took over. Over time, the ruins attracted more than just hikers and curious teenagers. They became a gathering place for outcasts, wanderers, and, tragically, for those who came with no intention of leaving. Stories spread of broken-hearted visitors climbing the mossy ledges, only to surrender themselves to the wilderness in their final moments. Others came here to drown their pain in isolation, leaving only whispers and shadows behind. The Witch's Castle became a magnet for despair, earning its reputation not only as a place of murder, but also as a site where restless souls gather. Paranormal investigators and casual visitors alike have reported chilling encounters. One of the most common experiences is the sudden blast of cold air that rushes through the ruins, even on the warmest of days. These gusts are often accompanied by an eerie silence, as if the forest itself is holding its breath. Some who have stood within the stone walls describe an almost suffocating heaviness, a pressure that settles on the chest and makes it difficult to breathe. Others say they've heard sobbing echo through the ruins, soft, mournful, and unmistakably human, yet no one is ever there. At night, the Witch's Castle becomes even more unsettling. Shadowy figures are seen standing in the broken windows or drifting silently between the moss-covered stones. Flashlights have caught glimpses of movement, only for the space to be empty upon closer inspection. Photographs taken here often reveal strange mists, orbs, and blurred figures that weren't visible to the eye. One chilling account tells of a hiker who heard a woman's laughter behind him as he passed the ruins alone at dusk. When he turned, He saw a pale figure in a tattered dress, leaning against the stone wall, smiling in the dim light. As he blinked, she vanished, leaving only the echo of her laughter in the trees. Some say the oppressive energy belongs to the murdered Mortimer Stump or the executed Danford Bouch, forever bound to the land where their fates intertwined. Others believe that countless broken souls who sought an end here have left their sorrow imprinted in the stones. The ruins seem to absorb grief, feeding on it, amplifying it, and casting it back out in waves of despair that affects all who enter. Locals warn that the witch's castle is not just haunted, but dangerous in ways beyond the paranormal. Visitors have reported feeling an overwhelming urge to cry for no reason, or sudden intrusive thoughts of hopelessness and fear. Sensitive individuals say the ruin seems to draw out whatever pain you carry, magnifying it until it feels unbearable. Those who arrive in sorrow sometimes leave in worse shape than when they came, if they leave at all. Despite its reputation, the witch's castle remains a popular destination, with curious hikers eager to see the infamous ruins for themselves. By day, it almost seems harmless, covered in graffiti, with sunlight filtering through the canopy above. But even then, there is something unsettling about the way the forest seems to grow quieter near the ruins, as though sound itself is swallowed by the stone walls. It is a place where time feels distorted, where footsteps echo strangely, and where the air seems just a little too cold for comfort. As night falls, the witch's castle transforms into something altogether different. The moss seems to crawl across the stones like living skin, the shadows stretch unnaturally long, and the forest's silence becomes deafening. Those who brave the ruins after dark often leave shaken, speaking of unseen hands brushing their skin, voices whispering their names, or the feeling of being watched from the trees. Some never speak of what they experienced at all, unwilling to relive it. Whether you believe in curses, restless spirits, or the lingering energy of human tragedy, the witch's castle stands as one of Portland's most chilling landmarks. It is a reminder that some places hold on to the past, refusing to let go, and that sorrow can echo as loudly as violence. Those who step inside the mossy ruins are not just walking through history. They are walking into a place where despair lingers, where shadows move on their own, and where the line between the living and the dead is disturbingly thin. Multnomah Falls, one of Oregon's most breathtaking natural landmarks, is a place where beauty and tragedy have long been entwined. Cascading 620 feet in two dramatic tiers, the waterfall draws millions of visitors each year, its misty spray and thunderous roar offering an awe-inspiring reminder of nature's power. Yet, beneath its postcard-perfect image lies a darker legacy. For centuries, the cliffs around Multnomah Falls have been associated with heartbreak, sacrifice, and despair. The gorge has become a silent witness to countless final moments, and many say those lost here still linger, their spirits entwined with the rushing water and the misty veil that rises above the falls. According to Native American legend, the story of Multnomah Falls begins with tragedy itself. Long before Oregon was settled by pioneers, the land was home to tribes who believed the falls were created by an act of sacrifice. One tale speaks of a great sickness that swept through a tribe, claiming lives without mercy. A medicine man declared that the only way to save the people was through the sacrifice of a pure maiden. A young woman, the daughter of a chief, chose to give her life. She climbed to the top of the cliffs and leaped, her body carried down into the abyss, her spirit becoming one with the rushing waters. The falls, it is said, sprang forth from the place where she fell, an eternal monument to her sacrifice. To this day, hikers and visitors claim to glimpse her figure in the misty, pale apparition draped in white, appearing briefly before dissolving into the spray. But it is not only ancient legend that shrouds Multnomah Falls in sorrow. In modern times, the cliffs have also become a site where many desperate souls have chosen to end their lives. The narrow bridges, high ledges, and sheer drop into the gorge provide an unforgiving stage for final farewells. Rescue workers and park rangers know all too well the grim calls that come from the falls. Reports of jumpers, the search for bodies, the sorrow that lingers among the beauty. Visitors who wander near the stone bridge that spans the falls often describe unsettling sensations. Some say they feel an invisible pull toward the edge, as though the cliffs themselves whisper to them. Others hear what sound like cries echoing off the rock walls, cries that vanish the moment one turns to search for their source. On foggy mornings, when the gorge is draped in low mist, hikers have reported seeing a lone figure standing at the top of the falls, only to watch in horror as the figure leaps in, then vanishes into thin air before ever striking the water. Perhaps the most chilling encounters come from those who witnessed the white figure said to descend the falls. She is described as a woman draped in a flowing gown, her form faintly glowing in the mist. Unlike a reflection or play of light, she appears solid, almost real, until she reaches halfway down the cascade. There, she dissolves, her image breaking apart into droplets of water and vapor. Some believe this is the maiden of legend, eternally replaying her sacrifice. Others wonder if it is the restless echo of modern souls, who have followed the same tragic path. The energy of Paranormal Falls is palpable. Paranormal investigators who have studied the site speak of electromagnetic fluctuations and unexplained cold spots, disembodied voices on recordings, and temperature drops that defy the natural environment. One team reported a particularly chilling session near the base of the falls, where a spirit box emitted the word "jump" several times, followed by a sorrowful sob that none of the investigators had made themselves. Tourists who visit the falls for their beauty often stumble unexpectedly into its darker side. A photographer once described setting up his camera on the bridge, only to feel a hand press against his back. When he spun around, there was no one there. Another visitor, hiking alone at dawn, recounted hearing footsteps behind her for over half a mile, though she was certain she was the only one on the trail. At the viewpoint near the bottom, she glanced up and saw a figure on the ledge high above, only for it to vanish when she blinked. The lore of Paranormal Falls continues to grow, blending legend and lived experience. Some see the spirits as guardians, the maiden watching over the gorge to ensure that her sacrifice is remembered. Others see them as warnings, restless echoes of those whose final choices left them bound to the falls forever. Whether myth or memory, one truth remains: Paranormal Falls is a place where the line between natural wonder and supernatural presence is impossibly thin. Standing at the base, the roar of the water drowns out all else. The mist rises, cold against the skin, curling into shapes that shift and dissolve as quickly as they appear. For most, it is simply the beauty of nature at its most powerful. But for those who listen closely, who peer too long into the mist, there is something else: a whisper in the rush of water, a figure in the spray, a fleeting presence at the edge of the cliff, waiting to leap again. The St. John's Bridge in Portland is one of Oregon's most striking landmarks. Its Gothic-style towers rise high above the Willamette River, their green steel spires resembling the steeples of a cathedral. Completed in 1931, it has long been celebrated as one of the most beautiful suspension bridges in the country. Yet behind its elegance lies a much darker reputation. For decades, this graceful structure has been the site of despair, tragedy, and countless ghostly encounters that continue to unsettle locals and visitors alike. From the very beginning, the bridge carried with it an aura of mystery. Its isolated setting in Portland's Cathedral Park, framed by towering fir trees and heavy mist, gives it an otherworldly presence. During the day, the bridge is breathtaking. At night, however, it becomes something far more sinister. Beneath its sweeping steel arches, shadows stretch unnaturally long. The sound of the river lapping below is often drowned out by sudden gusts of wind that seem to whisper through the beams. It is within these moments of eerie quiet that witnesses report the bridge's most unsettling phenomena. For many, the St. John's Bridge is a place of sorrow. It has been a notorious suicide location for years, its lofty height offering a quick and final end. Stories of desperate souls climbing its rails and leaping into the black waters below have become tragically common. Locals who live near the bridge sometimes describe hearing blood-chilling screams echoing in the dead of night, only to find no one on the bridge when they go to investigate. Some say the cries are not of the living at all, but the echoes of those who jumped long ago. One of the most frequently reported apparitions is that of shadowy silhouettes seen standing at the railings. Drivers passing across the bridge late at night often slam on their brakes, convinced someone is about to leap, but when headlights illuminate the figure, it simply vanishes into thin air. Pedestrians, too, have described the unnerving sensation of being watched. The feeling grows so intense that many quicken their pace, unable to shake the dread pressing in from all sides. Some report the echo of footsteps behind them, heavy steps that keep pace with their own, yet the bridge is empty when they turn around. Beneath the bridge, the atmosphere is even more unsettling. Cathedral Park, with its arching concrete supports, resembles the nave of a great church, but instead of a place of sanctuary, it feels like a crypt. Dog walkers frequently say their pets refuse to go near the base of the bridge. The animals growl, whine, or plant their paws firmly in the ground, resisting every attempt to move forward. Those who manage to continue report sudden temperature drops, the air turning icy even on summer nights. Some witnesses speak of seeing figures swaying gently from the steel beams overhead, as though the bridge itself remembers every life it has claimed. These apparitions dissolve when approached, leaving only the cold and the oppressive weight of grief. Paranormal investigators who have visited the site report equipment malfunctions, drained batteries, and unsettling audio recordings. AVP sessions conducted under the bridge have picked up what sound like whisper-soft, sorrowful voices saying, "Help" or "Please." Others captured what seemed like weeping, so faint it was almost drowned out by the wind. Sensitive individuals describe the energy of the place as heavy, suffocating, as though the despair of countless souls lingers in the air, refusing to dissipate. Local legend ties some of the hauntings not only to suicides, but also to tragic accidents during the bridge's construction. Workers in the 1920s and 1930s faced dangerous conditions while raising its steel towers. A few never made it home, their lives lost to falls or equipment failures. Some believe these spirits remain, wandering the bridge they helped create. Witnesses occasionally report seeing a man in old-fashioned work clothes near the base of the bridge, carrying a lantern and vanishing when approached. The combination of tragic deaths and the bridge's dramatic architecture has made it one of Portland's most haunted locations. Whether it is the restless dead or the weight of human grief that gives the bridge its eerie atmosphere, there is no denying its effect. Visitors leave with heavy hearts, often describing a feeling of sadness that clings to them long after they walk away. The St. John's Bridge stands as both a marvel of engineering and a monument to despair. By day, it inspires awe, but by night, it becomes a stage for spectral apparitions and haunting echoes of the past. The sight of ghostly figures on its railings, the phantom footsteps of unseen followers, and the eerie reluctance of animals to approach all point to a place where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. To stand upon it at night is to feel the chill of sorrow, as though the bridge itself is alive with memories of those who never returned from its edge. Beneath the streets of Portland lies a hidden network of passageways known as the Shanghai Tunnels, a labyrinth of dark, damp corridors that have long carried stories of human suffering and mystery. Originally constructed in the mid to late 19th century, these tunnels served practical purposes, connecting basements of hotels, saloons, and businesses to the Willamette River. Merchants moved goods through them to avoid street-level traffic, and later, during the height of Portland's port activity, the tunnels took on a far darker reputation. Legends tell of men and women being kidnapped, drugged, and forced onto ships in what became known as Shanghaiing, a practice that transformed the city's underbelly into a place of fear, despair, and unspoken horror. While the historical accuracy of some of these claims is debated, the enduring stories have left an imprint not just on the city's history, but on the tunnels themselves. Walking into the Shanghai tunnels today is to enter another world. The air is thick with humidity, carrying the smell of wet stone and decayed wood. Shadows crawl across the uneven walls, and the faint sound of dripping water echoes endlessly through the labyrinth. Those who venture below often describe a sensation of being watched, as though unseen eyes track every movement. For urban explorers and historians alike, the tunnels are more than an architectural oddity. They are a vessel of emotion, heavy with centuries of fear, anger, and sorrow. Countless visitors have reported strange physical sensations while navigating the narrow passageways. Hands unseen brush against their backs, knocking at shoulders or pushing just enough to make them stumble. Some claim that the sensation is accompanied by a feeling of overwhelming dread, a sudden pressure on the chest, or goosebumps that erupt from the neck down. Workers who have helped restore sections of the tunnels for tours tell similar stories. One construction team reported tools being inexplicably moved, doors slamming shut behind them, and footsteps echoing in empty chambers. At first, these incidents were dismissed as accidents or the natural creaks of an old building, but when repeated patterns emerged, those involved began to consider that the tunnels themselves may harbor restless energy, unwilling to let go of the suffering that once filled them. Voices are another frequent phenomenon in the Shanghai tunnels. Tour guides and paranormal investigators report hearing whispers that trail them as they move through the passageways. The words are often indistinct, carried in a rush of syllables that fade before meaning can be discerned, yet the urgency in them is unmistakable. Some suggest that the whispers are echoes of those who were shanghaied or otherwise trapped in the tunnels. Their fear and desperation lingering long after their physical presence has vanished. Others argue that these voices belong to those who sought refuge there in darker times, men and women hiding from debt, law enforcement, or violence, whose energy became trapped in the stone and brick of the subterranean corridors. The tunnels are also associated with more extreme emotional experiences. Visitors have described sudden waves of sorrow or despair, often without warning. Many report being overwhelmed with feelings of hopelessness, as if the weight of centuries of misery had been poured directly into their minds. Some people have cried inexplicably, while others feel the urge to turn back, even before reaching the end of a passage. Paranormal investigators theorize that this emotional residue is linked to the suicides that occurred in the tunnels. The men and women who found no escape from addiction, poverty, or depression. The energy of those lost lives, compounded over decades, is believed by some to have seeped into the very walls, leaving the tunnels an emotional trap as well as a physical one. Shadowy figures are a common feature of Shanghai tunnel encounters. Visitors frequently report glimpses of shapes moving just out of the corner of their vision. In one well-known account, a tour group was navigating a narrow corridor when a tall, dark silhouette appeared at the far end. It remained for only a few seconds, yet the chilling sense of presence lingered long after the figure vanished. Others have described fleeting glimpses of pale faces pressed against walls, or the sensation of someone stepping close behind them, only to find nothing when they turned. Or strange sounds, but even in the absence of proof, the human experience of fear, sadness, and unease is undeniable. The haunted reputation of the Shanghai tunnels is inseparable from their historical context. Portland's past as a bustling port city brought wealth to some, but left many in desperation. Saloon owners, merchants, and sailors all intersected in the city's underworld, where vice and poverty ran rampant. Stories of men being shanghaied, women disappearing into the night, and lives lost to addiction and despair form a tapestry of tragedy that is hard to ignore. Even if the historical record is incomplete or disputed, the tales themselves carry a weight, and many believe that the echoes of these tragedies are what make the tunnels feel alive in a way that ordinary basements or cellars never could. Today, the Shanghai tunnels attract both tourists seeking an eerie thrill and paranormal enthusiasts searching for evidence of the unexplained. Guided tours recount the dark history, weaving stories of kidnapping, crime, and despair into every corridor. Paranormal investigators set up recording equipment to capture EVPs, temperature fluctuations, and visual anomalies. Even skeptics often leave with an impression that the tunnels are more than just stone and mortar. They are a repository of human experience, a place where the suffering and fear of the past continue to brush against the living. The Shanghai tunnels of Portland are more than a network of underground passageways. They are a living memory of a city's darkest corners, a space where despair, addiction, and injustice have left their mark. To step beneath the streets is to confront the weight of history, the lingering pain of countless individuals, and the whispers of lives never fully at rest. For those who venture there, the experience is as much about confronting the human spirit as it is about exploring the shadows. A journey through sorrow, mystery, and the enduring echoes of the forgotten. Here, in the cold, damp corridors beneath the bustling streets, the past refuses to be silent. The Shanghai tunnels remain a place where history, legend, and the supernatural intertwine, where the restless spirits of the desperate may still wander, seeking recognition, remembrance, or release. Each step taken within their walls carries a brush with that lingering darkness. A reminder that some places are never truly empty, and some stories are never truly over. The Burnside Bridge in Portland spans the Willamette River, connecting the city's east and west sides. By day, it is a bustling thoroughfare, carrying thousands of cars, buses, and pedestrians across its steel arches. By night, however, the bridge takes on a far more somber and mysterious character. For decades, it has been a site of tragedy, known for the countless people who have leaped from its railings into the dark, cold waters below. The river has claimed lives, and with them, a legend of lingering spirits, apparitions, and unexplained phenomena has grown, giving the Burnside Bridge a reputation as one of Portland's most haunted landmarks. Local lore tells of shadowy figures pacing the bridge late at night, their movements slow and deliberate, as if trapped in a loop of despair. Pedestrians often feel the unsettling sense of being watched, or catch fleeting glimpses of silhouettes moving at the edge of their vision. The bridge's history as a site of despair seems to leave a residual energy that manifests in ways both subtle and startling. Drivers passing over the bridge after dark report seeing passengers suddenly appear in their rearview mirrors. These figures sit silently, their faces often obscured by shadow, and vanish without warning as the vehicle continues across the span. Some claim the figures are former souls drawn back to the place where their lives ended, unable to leave the bridge behind. The experiences reported on the Burnside Bridge are not limited to visual phenomena. Sounds, too, have been described with eerie consistency. People walking across the bridge at night sometimes hear footsteps behind them, though no one is there. Others report soft whispers or murmurs that seem to come from nowhere, filling the air with a sense of unease. The sounds are often fleeting, vanishing when one tries to locate their source, yet the emotional impact is lasting. Visitors have described feeling a sudden wave of sadness or dread as they approach the middle of the bridge, a sensation that intensifies in the cold night air. For those who have spent time studying or investigating the bridge, the pattern of supernatural activity seems tied closely to its history of suicides. Records show that people have jumped from the Burnside Bridge for decades, often in moments of intense personal crisis. Some were struggling with addiction, others with financial hardship or mental illness. Over time, these repeated tragedies are believed to have left an imprint, a type of residual energy that continues to affect those who traverse the bridge. Paranormal investigators suggest that the emotional intensity of these past events is what makes the bridge feel alive with unseen presence, creating an environment where the living can sense the lingering despair of the departed. Some encounters on the bridge are startlingly direct. Drivers recount experiences in which passengers seem to materialize in their cars, sitting silently as if taking a ride across the river. These apparitions often appear for only a moment, disappearing entirely by the time the vehicle reaches the center. In some cases, the figures have been described as looking downward, their postures heavy with grief, or as staring blankly forward with an intensity that sends shivers down the spine. Pedestrians who have encountered the same phenomena describe feeling a sudden chill or a pressure on their shoulders, as though someone or something is attempting to communicate, or perhaps to warn them away. The bridge is also known for more subtle, psychological effects. Those who walk alone at night often report an overwhelming sense of isolation, even in the presence of passing cars or other pedestrians. Some say the bridge feels much longer than it actually is. A sensation of stretching that amplifies anxiety and makes the crossing feel like a journey through another world. Others describe feeling compelled to stop at certain points, as though drawn to specific areas of the bridge by forces they cannot explain. These experiences contribute to the bridge's reputation as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is unusually thin. Local lore has added further layers to the Burnside Bridge's haunted reputation. Stories circulate of a man in dark clothing who walks the bridge each night, vanishing whenever approached. Others speak of fleeting figures near the riverbanks, glimpsed from the bridge's railings, moving in ways that defy natural explanation. Even casual commuters sometimes share tales of unusual occurrences. Headlights reflecting off figures that are not there, shadows shifting in unnatural ways, and moments when the wind carries sounds resembling sobbing or muted cries. Each story reinforces the sense that the bridge is more than steel and concreted as a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural intersect. Despite the fear and mystery, the Burnside Bridge continues to serve as a vital artery for the city. Its lights shine across the river, guiding vehicles and pedestrians alike, and its steel framework remains a testament to Portland's industrial history. Yet, for those who take the time to notice, there is an undeniable, otherworldly presence that coexists with daily life. The bridge is a reminder that even in a modern urban environment, the past lingers, and the memories of loss and despair can take on a life of their own. For paranormal enthusiasts, historians, and urban explorers, the Burnside Bridge represents a place where stories of sorrow and spectral sightings converge. Its haunted reputation is not merely the result of imagination. The convergence of human tragedy, emotional residue, and repeated encounters over decades makes it a unique focal point for experiences that defy easy explanation. Whether glimpsing a figure in a rearview mirror, feeling the pressure of unseen hands, or hearing whispered voices carried on the night air, those who traverse the bridge are reminded that some places hold memory in ways that cannot be seen but are deeply felt. The Burnside Bridge stands as a solemn, living monument to both the city's history and its darker undercurrents. Each step across its span carries the weight of past tragedies, and each moment under its lights is a brush with the lingering presence of those who never left. For Portland, the bridge is more than a crossing. It is a place where the line between life and death feels thin, where grief, loss, and memory linger like a shadow, and where the restless spirits of the past may still pace the walkways, silently observing the world above the river that claimed them. Perched on the slopes of Mount Hood, Timberline Lodge is more than just a majestic mountain retreat. It is a place steeped in history, mystery, and a haunting reputation that has persisted for decades. Built in the 1930s as part of a New Deal project, the lodge was designed to be both functional and stunning, a testament to craftsmanship with its massive timber beams, hand-carved stone, and intricate ironwork. Over the years, it has become famous not only for its breathtaking views and ski facilities, but also for its connection to the classic horror film, The Shining, which cemented its place in popular culture. Yet, beyond the cinematic fame, Timberline Lodge holds stories of real-life tragedy and unexplained phenomena, lending it a spectral presence that some guests and workers claim is impossible to ignore. The lodge's history is intertwined with both human ambition and human suffering. In its early years, construction crews labored in harsh conditions on the mountainside, carving the massive wooden beams and sculpting stone fireplaces that still dominate the main halls today. While there are no detailed records of deaths during construction, local lore speaks of workers who perished in avalanches or succumbed to accidents during the building process. Later, as the lodge became a bustling hub for tourists, ski enthusiasts, and seasonal workers, it drew a diverse crowd, some of whom carried with them personal hardships, depression, and other struggles. Stories emerged of individuals who ended their lives within the lodge's walls. These tragedies left a mark, and many believe their echoes linger still. Guests often report hearing footsteps in areas where no one is present. Early in the morning or late at night, The vast wooden corridors carry sounds that seem to move in rhythm with human presence. Yet, when someone turns to investigate, the halls are empty. Housekeeping staff, who traverse the lodge long after most guests have retired, describe doors creaking open on their own, or the sensation that someone is following them as they carry linens or clean rooms. The massive timber-bird architecture of the lodge, with its long hallways and vaulted ceilings, seems to amplify these experiences, creating the impression that the building itself is alive, observing the people who walk through it. One of the most frequently reported phenomena occurs in the guest rooms. Visitors have recounted waking in the dead of night to the sound of someone weeping just outside their doors. The cries are soft at first, almost imperceptible, but grow steadily, filling the hallway with a mournful, human quality that seems impossible to attribute to the wind or distant wildlife. Some brave souls have opened their doors to investigate, only to find the corridor empty, silent except for the echo of their own footsteps. Others retreat beneath the covers, feeling a presence hovering just outside, as if a spirit waits patiently, mourning, or perhaps seeking connection. The dining halls and common areas of Timberline Lodge have also been sites of strange occurrences. Patrons have reported chairs moving slightly after being vacated, glasses rattling on tables, and the faint scent of cigar smoke in rooms long after smoking was prohibited. Workers in the kitchen and service areas sometimes hear disembodied voices calling out names or giving instructions, though no one else is present. While some attribute these incidents to the lodge's old construction and settling timbers, many employees insist that the experiences feel intentional, as if the unseen presence is aware of human movement and responding to it. Certain locations within the lodge carry particularly heavy reputations. The mezzanine above the main hall, with its intricate carvings and panoramic views of the mountains, is said to be one of the most active areas for ghostly sightings. Guests and staff report glimpsing fleeting figures standing at the railing, looking outward as if contemplating the snow-capped slopes, only to vanish when approached. The rooms on the upper floors, particularly those closest to the original staff quarters, are often avoided by those sensitive to paranormal activity, as strange shadows and cold spots seem concentrated there. These occurrences are not limited to visual phenomena. Temperature fluctuations, sudden chills, and the feeling of being watched are reported with startling regularity. Paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have long been drawn to Timberline Lodge, seeking evidence of its spectral residence. EMF meters, audio recorders, and infrared cameras have picked up unexplained readings, strange orbs of light, and faint whispers that cannot be traced to any living person. Some investigators suggest that the lodge's long history, combined with the tragedies that took place there, has imbued it with what they call a residual energy, a type of imprint left behind by intense emotions and suffering. According to this theory, the building itself retains memory, and visitors who enter sensitive areas may experience echoes of past events. Despite its haunted reputation, Timberline Lodge remains a beloved destination for travelers from around the world. Skiers, hikers, and tourists are drawn to its stunning architecture, cozy fireplaces, and breathtaking views of Mount Hood. Yet, for those who pause to listen, who walk quietly down its long hallways, or sit alone in its upper rooms, the lodge reveals a different side. The echoes of footsteps, the mournful cries, and the faint presence of unseen figures suggest that the lodge carries its history not just in books or plaques, but in the very atmosphere of its halls. Timberline Lodge is more than a mountain retreat. It is a living repository of human experience, both joyous and tragic. For those who enter its doors, it offers warmth, beauty, and adventure, but also a reminder that some places are touched by sorrow so deeply that it lingers long after the events themselves have passed. Guests and staff alike often feel that the lodge watches, remembers, and perhaps mourns alongside them, a silent witness to the passage of time and the lives that have unfolded within its walls. In the quiet of night, when snow drifts silently outside and the wind sighs through the timber beams, the lodge's haunted presence becomes impossible to ignore. a spectral reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that in places like Timberline, it may never rest. The Astoria-Megla Bridge stretches across the Columbia River, connecting Astoria, Oregon, with Megla, Washington, and stands as one of the longest continuous truss bridges in North America. Its steel and concrete spans rise high above the river, offering breathtaking views of the water and the surrounding landscape. By day, it is a marvel of engineering, a vital transportation artery carrying commuters, travelers, and commercial traffic across the wide expanse of the Columbia. By night, however, the bridge takes on a far darker persona, one steeped in tragedy, fear, and the unexplained. Over the decades, the Astoria-Megla Bridge has earned a grim reputation, known not just for its height and length, but for the souls it has claimed and the ghostly phenomena reported by those who traverse its span. With individuals leaping from its towering heights into the cold, turbulent waters of the Columbia River below. The river's strong currents often claim their victims quickly, leaving families and friends with heartbreak and unanswered questions. But according to local legend, some of those lost do not rest quietly beneath the waves. Drivers and pedestrians alike report seeing ghostly figures appear suddenly in the roadway, standing motionless as if waiting, or pacing along the bridge's edges, disappearing as their vehicles approach. These spectral encounters are brief but chilling, often leaving witnesses shaken for miles after the experience. One of the most commonly reported phenomena on the Astoria-Megla Bridge involves phantom pedestrians. Late at night, drivers have described seeing a figure standing in the middle of the lane, illuminated briefly by headlights. In these moments, the figure seems entirely real, detailed in outline, motionless, and demanding attention. Almost instinctively, drivers slam on their brakes or swerve to avoid the apparition. But by the time they stop or glance away, the figure has vanished, leaving only the empty roadway and a lingering sense of dread. Many who have experienced this report a feeling that the apparition is trying to communicate, to warn, or perhaps to reenact the moment of its own death. Trapped in an eternal loop along the bridge. Witnesses have also described seeing figures along the edges of the bridge, leaning over the guardrails or pacing just out of reach. These apparitions are often blurred at the edges, ghostly in appearance, yet unmistakably human in shape. Some drivers report that the figures seem to follow them, remaining visible in mirrors or through peripheral vision, even as the vehicle moves across the span. Others describe the sensation of a sudden wait in the car, as though an unseen passenger has joined them for the crossing, only to vanish when the headlights catch an empty seat. The consistency of these reports across decades has led many to believe that the bridge is haunted by the restless spirits of those who met their end there. Footsteps and sudden noises are also reported on the bridge. Pedestrians walking the span alone late at night often claim to hear steps echoing just behind them, though no one else is present. Some have described hearing the faint slap of shoes against the concrete or the soft sigh of wind, carrying a voice that seems almost human. These sounds are fleeting and unpredictable, disappearing when approached or when the observer stops to listen closely. Paranormal investigators suggest that such residual energy may be tied to the emotional intensity of past deaths on the bridge, leaving an imprint that replays for those sensitive enough to perceive it. The bridge's immense height and isolation at night create an environment ripe for psychological tension. The hum of traffic, the creak of the steel beams, and the roar of the river below all combine to produce a sense of vulnerability. Even for experienced drivers, those who have reported supernatural encounters often describe a sudden tightening in their chest, a shiver along the spine, or a feeling of being watched. Even skeptics admit that the bridge evokes a strange atmosphere, one in which the boundary between the natural and the supernatural seems blurred, and where the mind may be unusually attuned to shadows and sounds that might otherwise be ignored. Local lore suggests that the spirits lingering on the Astoria-Megla Bridge are not malevolent in intent. Rather, they are believed to be trapped in the space between life and death, replaying the moments that ended them or attempting to reach out to the living. Stories abound of drivers swerving to avoid a figure only to feel a sudden emotional heaviness afterward, as if they have shared a fleeting connection with a tormented soul. Pedestrians report the same sensation, cold breeze or a whisper that seems to brush against the ear, leaving an inexplicable sorrow in its wake. These experiences give the bridge a spectral personality, one that is as mournful as it is terrifying. Investigators and thrill-seekers have long been drawn to the bridge in search of proof. Cameras and recording devices sometimes capture anomalies, fleeting lights, faint figures, or distortions in footage that defy explanation. Audio recordings occasionally reveal subtle, untraceable murmurs or the distant sound of footsteps on the concrete. Even when no physical evidence is found, the shared stories of drivers, tourists, and residents reinforce the bridge's reputation as a place where the living brush against the remnants of tragic lives. Despite its haunted history, the Astoria-Megler Bridge remains a crucial and well-traveled part of the region. Commuters rely on its spans every day, and travelers admire its sweeping views of the Columbia River. Yet for those who cross it at night, particularly in quiet hours, there is a palpable tension, a sense that the bridge carries more than steel and asphalt. It bears witness to human sorrow, the choices made in desperation, and the lingering presence of those who never found peace. The Oregon State Hospital in Salem is a towering presence, both architecturally and historically. Built in the late 19th century, the hospital was designed as a place of care for those suffering from mental illness, yet it quickly gained a reputation as a site of tragedy, neglect, and despair. Its sprawling wards, sterile hallways, and institutional architecture have been immortalized in Ken Kesey's S1 Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But beyond fiction, the hospital's walls hold a far darker reality. For over a century, countless patients have walked these corridors, some seeking treatment, others forced into confinement, leaving behind stories of suffering, lost hope, and, in too many cases, death. Today, the Oregon State Hospital stands not just as a medical institution, but as a place where echoes of the past linger, manifesting in whispers, sudden chills, and ghostly apparitions. From the moment one steps onto the hospital grounds, there is a sense of history weighing down the atmosphere. The architecture itself, with its towering brick facades, narrow windows, and rigid hallways, evokes a sense of confinement, of lives constrained within its walls. Staff and visitors alike report feeling an unshakable tension, as though the building itself remembers the pain and anguish that have passed through its doors. Many describe the air as heavy and cold, a chill that seeps into the bones despite the warmth of modern heating systems. This pervasive atmosphere is said to be a residual effect of the intense emotions that have accumulated over decades of human suffering. The hospital's history is marred by tragedy. Overcrowding, underfunding, and outdated practices meant that patients often endured harsh conditions. Some took their own lives in the sterile wards, unable to cope with isolation, illness, or despair. Others passed away due to neglect, inadequate medical care, or the extreme treatments common in earlier eras, such as electroconvulsive therapy and lobotomies. These cumulative tragedies are believed by some to have left a spectral imprint on the building, creating a place where the past can still be felt in the present. Reports of paranormal activity at the Oregon State Hospital are numerous and consistent. Staff members have described hearing whispers echoing down empty corridors, voices that seem to call from rooms that have long been abandoned. The whispers are often indistinct, a rush of syllables that fade when approached, yet they carry an unmistakable urgency, as if someone is trying to communicate from beyond. Patients, visitors, and workers alike have reported sudden cold spots in hallways or rooms, pockets of icy air that appear without explanation and vanish as quickly as they come. These temperature fluctuations often coincide with feelings of unease or dread, suggesting that the building's energy may still resonate with the trauma of those who once lived and died there. Ghostly figures in hospital gowns are another common phenomenon. Staff walking late-night shifts frequently report seeing shadows moving at the edge of their vision shapes that resemble patients wandering the halls. their movements slow, deliberate, and hauntingly human. These figures often disappear when approached, leaving only an empty hallway behind. Some employees have described brief encounters with individuals standing silently in doorways or at the end of corridors, as if watching, waiting, or lost in thought. In many cases, those who experience these sightings describe a profound sense of sadness, a heavy weight pressing on them as they witness these fleeting apparitions. Even in public areas, such as administrative offices or common rooms, strange occurrences are reported. Doors open or close on their own, objects are displaced inexplicably, and lights flicker without cause. Some say the sounds of footsteps echo where no one is walking, and the faint creak of a bed or chair can be heard in rooms long abandoned. While some attribute these events to the old building's natural settling, many insist that the timing and nature of the occurrences suggest something far more unsettling. Residual traces of the lives and deaths that have passed through the hospitalist's walls. Visitors who have toured the hospital's older sections often describe an oppressive atmosphere, a sense that the weight of history is tangible. Even those unfamiliar with the building's past report feelings of unease, a need to move quickly through hallways, or a heightened awareness of their surroundings. Paranormal investigators have documented temperature anomalies, unexplained sounds, and visual disturbances, lending credence to the idea that the hospital's history continues to echo through its present. While skeptics may dismiss these experiences as imagination or the product of suggestion, the consistency and emotional intensity of first-hand accounts suggest that something lingering, unseen, and sorrowful inhabits the hospital. The Oregon State Hospital is a place where human suffering and the supernatural intersect. Its halls bear witness to lives marked by illness, isolation, and, in many cases, despair. The patients who walked these corridors, some tormented by their own minds and others by circumstance, left traces of their existence behind. Staff and visitors who sense these traces often describe a mixture of fear and empathy, a recognition of the pain that still resonates within the walls. These experiences serve as a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that places shaped by trauma can carry echoes long after the events themselves have ended. For those who enter the hospital today, the building offers a complex and unsettling experience. It is a place of history, of architecture, and of modern medical care, but also a place where whispers, shadows, and unexplained chills are part of the atmosphere. Many who have worked or spent time there report that the spirits of former patients linger, moving through the wards, pacing the corridors, or weeping quietly in rooms where they once lived. These phenomena are often fleeting, yet they leave a lasting impression, a reminder that the Oregon State Hospital is more than just a building. It is a repository of human emotion, suffering, and memory, a place where the past refuses to be silent, and where the echoes of the forgotten continue to inhabit the present. The Hollywood Theater in Portland stands as a landmark of cinematic history, its marquee lights a beacon of glamour and culture for over a century. Built in the 1920s, the theater has seen generations of moviegoers flock through its ornate doors, drawn by the promise of drama, comedy, and spectacle. Its architecture is a testament to the grand movie palaces of the early 20th century, with elaborate plasterwork, glittering chandeliers, and balconies that curve gracefully over the auditorium below. Yet beneath the theater's glamour and charm lies a history shadowed by tragedy and despair, a hidden layer that some say still lingers in the form of ghostly presences. The early days of the Hollywood Theater were marked not only by cinematic celebration but also by heartbreaking events. Historical accounts suggest that at least 2 suicides occurred within the building, leaving behind unanswered questions and sorrow that would become woven into the theater's legacy. One story tells of a young woman who, distraught and alone, ended her life in one of the balcony boxes. Another recounts a man who leaped from the upper gallery, his final act transforming the theater into a silent witness to human despair. Though these events are long past, many believe the echoes of those tragic moments remain, haunting the spaces where laughter and applause once predominated. Visitors to the theater today sometimes report subtle yet chilling experiences. Moviegoers have described feeling a sudden tap on the shoulder while walking through darkened aisles, only to turn and find no one there. The touch is fleeting but undeniable, leaving an unsettling awareness that they are not entirely alone. In other instances, patrons report hearing the soft sound of sobbing, seemingly emanating from the balcony above. The sound is hollow, echoing through the theater as though the grieving figure is trapped between the tears, replaying their final moments for anyone who will listen. Mirrors throughout the building are another source of eerie phenomena. The restrooms, with their polished surfaces and tiled walls, have become the stage for countless reports of strange reflections. Some visitors claim to see pale faces staring back at them, faces that vanish when glanced at directly. Others report glimpses of figures that seem out of place, watching silently from the mirrored corners, their presence fleeting yet impossible to dismiss. These experiences often leave guests shaken, a reminder that the theater's history extends far beyond the films projected on its silver screen. Employees of the Hollywood Theater, from ushers to projectionists, have shared similar accounts. Some report hearing footsteps echoing in empty corridors or stairwells, particularly late at night after the theater has closed. Doors occasionally open or close on their own, and lights flicker unexpectedly in the shadowed corners of the building. Many staff members describe an awareness, almost tactile, of unseen eyes following them as they move through the theater, as if the spirits of the past are observing the living, curious or mourning. The balcony, where at least one of the suicides occurred, is often cited as the epicenter of paranormal activity. Visitors seated in this area sometimes feel sudden chills or inexplicable unease, as though the air itself has thickened with emotion. Whispers have been reported here, as well, soft, unintelligible murmurs that seem to come from no specific direction, yet carry the unmistakable quality of human sorrow. Some believe that these echoes are residual energy, lingering from moments of despair so intense that they became imprinted upon the theater itself. Even during public screenings, experiences persist. Patrons have occasionally sensed a presence nearby, a shadow moving at the edge of peripheral vision, or the soft creak of a seat, settling as though someone unseen has taken it. While some dismiss these occurrences as tricks of the light or imagination, the consistency of reports over decades suggests a pattern that defies simple explanation. Many who frequent the theater, from long-time employees to casual moviegoers, acknowledge that the Hollywood Theater is a place where the past and present intermingle, where the echoes of tragedy coexist with the laughter and applause of modern audiences. Paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have long been drawn to the Hollywood Theater, seeking to document its supernatural reputation. Cameras have captured unexplained orbs of light drifting through the auditorium, while audio recorders sometimes pick up faint whispers or murmurs during late-night investigations. Some investigators suggest that the theater functions as a repository for emotional energy, particularly the intense despair and sorrow associated with the historical suicides. According to this theory, locations where trauma is concentrated are more likely to generate lingering phenomena, creating an environment where the living may sense the presence of the departed. Despite its haunted reputation, the Hollywood Theater remains a beloved cultural institution. Its screens continue to show films for audiences of all ages, and its architecture is admired by historians, artists, and tourists alike. The theater's charm and elegance coexist with its darker history, creating a complex and layered experience for those who enter its doors. While the lights illuminate the stage and the seats fill with the anticipation of entertainment, the shadows in the corners hint at a lingering past, a reminder that the building has witnessed both joy and heartbreak in equal measure. For those who visit late at night or during quiet moments, the theater's history can feel palpable. The taps on shoulders, the sobbing in the balcony, and the pale faces in mirrors all suggest that the Hollywood Theater holds more than celluloid memories. It holds the essence of lives lost within its walls. These presences, whether interpreted as spirits or echoes of emotional energy, transform the theater into a space where the past is never fully gone, where the joys of cinema exist alongside lingering sorrow. The Hollywood Theater exemplifies the duality of places steeped in history a site of beauty, artistry, and communal experience, yet also a repository of human tragedy. Each visitor, each employee, and each late-night passerby who senses the theater's eerie qualities becomes part of its ongoing story. In the soft flicker of the projector, in the shadows of the balcony, and in the reflective surfaces of the mirrors, the past persists, reminding all who entered that while films come and go, some stories, particularly those marked by despair, never truly finished. The Willamette River winds gracefully through the heart of Portland, its waters reflecting the city's skyline by day and shrouded in mist and mystery by night. For centuries, it has been a vital artery for commerce, travel, and recreation, supporting everything from bustling river traffic to quiet fishing excursions. But beneath its serene surface lies a history of tragedy, sorrow, and unexplained phenomena. Locals, rowers, fishermen, and visitors alike have reported encounters that defy explanation. Ghostly cries echoing across the fog, shadowy figures appearing along the banks, and fleeting glimpses of human shapes dissolving into the mist. The river, ever-flowing and ever-changing, seems to hold on to the echoes of the lives it has claimed, creating a haunting presence that lingers along its shores. The Willamette River's reputation as a place of lost souls stems in part from its long history of accidents and deaths. Over the decades, countless people have drowned in its waters. The swift current, particularly in the fog-laden early mornings and during periods of high water, has claimed rowers, swimmers, and travelers alike. These tragic incidents, combined with the river's misty atmosphere and the natural melancholy of its slower-moving stretches, have fostered a deep-rooted sense of unease among those who spend time near its banks. Many believe that the spirits of the deceased remain tethered to the river, their sorrow and unfinished business imprinted on the waters themselves. Fishermen are among the most frequent witnesses to the river's strange activity. Those who venture out before sunrise often report hearing faint, anguished cries carried across the fog. The sounds are typically indistinct, rising and falling with the wind, and sometimes seem to come from directly beneath the water's surface. Some fishermen claim that when they attempt to investigate, the cries vanish as quickly as they appeared, leaving only the sound of lapping water and the echo of their own heartbeat. It is not uncommon for these men and women to feel a sudden chill, even in the middle of summer, as if the river itself has exhaled a cold breath meant to warn or remind them of the lives it has claimed. Rowers and kayakers navigating the Willamette in the early hours also report ghostly phenomena on foggy mornings when visibility is limited and the city is quiet. Shadowy figures are sometimes seen walking along the riverbanks. These shapes often appear human, but are impossibly still or move with unnatural grace. Many witnesses say that the figures seem aware of their presence, turning briefly to acknowledge the observer before fading into the mist. Others report seeing fleeting reflections in the water faces or silhouettes that vanish when looked at directly. These experiences are unsettling, yet strangely consistent, suggesting that the river carries not only the memory of those who have perished, but also a lingering, almost sentient awareness of its surroundings. The banks of the Willamette are also sites of recurring paranormal reports. Joggers, cyclists, and pedestrians walking along the riverside trails have reported sudden feelings of unease, the impression of being watched, and even cold spots where the fog hangs heaviest. Some describe hearing soft footsteps or the rustle of clothing, though no one else is nearby. On rare occasions, ghostly figures are seen standing at the water's edge, staring across the river before vanishing entirely. These sightings often leave witnesses with a profound sense of sorrow or empathy, as if the river is offering a glimpse into the grief of those lost to its depths. The fog over the Willamette River seems to amplify these experiences. Dense and shifting, it creates a natural veil that can turn familiar surroundings into an eerie, dreamlike landscape. Shapes that might otherwise appear mundane, boats, piers, or trees take on a spectral quality, and sounds are distorted, carrying voices or cries that may not be human. Many paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the fog serves as a bridge between the physical world and the lingering energies of the past, allowing the presence of spirits to be felt more intensely. For rowers, fishermen, and early morning walkers, this combination of fog, silence, and historical tragedy creates an atmosphere that is both haunting and hypnotic, compelling them to tread carefully along the water's edge. Some witnesses have described more direct interactions with the river's spectral inhabitants. Rowers tell of feeling a sudden resistance in their oars, as if something unseen is grasping the blades. Fishermen report lines tugged unexpectedly, only to find nothing hooked. Joggers and pedestrians have recounted glimpsing a hand reaching from the mist or a shadow passing behind them, disappearing before it can be fully acknowledged. These experiences, while brief, often leave a lasting impression. A sense that the Willamette River is not merely a body of water but a living repository of human experience, memory, and emotion. Local lore has embraced the idea that the river is haunted by more than accidental deaths. Some suggest that spirits linger because of unfinished business, unresolved grief, or the abrupt nature of their passing. Others believe that the river itself has absorbed the emotional energy of countless lives, transforming it into a place where the past is never truly gone. Whether one interprets these phenomena as genuine hauntings or as the natural product of human imagination and perception, the reports are remarkably consistent, and the feelings they evoke are undeniably real. The Willamette River is a symbol of Portland itself, flowing, resilient, and intertwined with human life. Yet it is also a place of mystery, where the beauty of dawn can give way to the uncanny presence of the past. Those who spend time along its banks, rowing, fishing, or walking in the fog, often find that the river is more than it seems. It carries with it the echoes of sorrow, the whispers of lost souls, and the fleeting presence of figures who remain tethered to the waters that claimed them. For anyone who ventures to the Willamette in the early morning mist, the river offers both solace and a haunting reminder of mortality. The cries that drift across the water, the shadowy figures along the banks, and the chill of unseen presence all suggest that the Willamette is not just a river of Portland, it's a river of memory, grief, and lingering spirits. Those who encounter it may leave with more than just a story of a scenic morning. They may carry with them the awareness that beneath its surface, the river remembers every life, every loss, and every soul it has taken, keeping them alive in its eternal flow. The Columbia Gorge Hotel in Hood River, Oregon, stands as a majestic testament to early 20th century elegance. Perched on a hillside overlooking the sweeping expanse of the Columbia River Gorge, with its stately architecture, expansive grounds, and panoramic views, the hotel was once a sanctuary for travelers seeking luxury, tranquility, and respite from the bustle of daily life. Its grand ballrooms, oak-paneled hallways, and elegantly furnished rooms evoke an era of refinement and sophistication. Yet behind this veneer of splendor lies a darker history, one marked by heartbreak, tragedy, and lingering spirits. Among the stories that continue to haunt the hotel, none is more persistent than that of a chambermaid whose sorrow ended in her untimely death, leaving an imprint that has echoed through the corridors for decades. According to local lore, the chambermaid was a young woman employed at the hotel in the 1920s, a time when the building flourished as a retreat for the affluent. She was known for her diligence and grace, moving silently through the hallways, ensuring each guest room reflected the hotel's impeccable standards. Yet behind her composed exterior, she suffered a heartbreak that consumed her spirit. The details of her sorrow remain murky, but stories suggest a love lost either through betrayal, rejection, or tragic circumstance that drove her to despair. Unable to find solace, she took her own life within the hotel, leaving behind a legacy of grief that some believe continues to inhabit the very spaces she once tended. Guests and visitors to the Columbia Gorge Hotel often report experiences that suggest the chambermaid's presence remains very much alive. The most commonly cited phenomenon is the sound of footsteps in the corridors, particularly late at night when the building is quiet. Many describe the sound as soft and deliberate, the rhythmic tapping of shoes on polished floors that seems to approach and recede without warning. Guests who pause or turn to investigate often find the hallways empty, yet the sensation of someone nearby lingers, accompanied by an inexplicable chill in the air. It is as if the chambermaid's spirit moves purposefully through the hotel, retracing familiar routes she once walked in life. Another recurring experience involves scent. Visitors frequently report the faint trace of perfume in areas of the hotel where no one is present. The fragrance is described as floral and delicate, lingering momentarily in a room or hallway before dissipating, leaving a sense of presence without explanation. Many believe this scent is connected to the chambermaid herself, a subtle reminder of her lingering attachment to the place she once called her workplace. The smell often accompanies other phenomena, such as the sound of footsteps or the brief reflection of a figure in a window, heightening the impression that the hotel is inhabited by more than the living. Windows throughout the Columbia Gorge Hotel are said to be another focal point of the spirit's activity. Guests have reported seeing a pale figure reflected in the glass, gazing outward toward the gorge below. These sightings are often fleeting. The figure appears only for a moment before vanishing when observed directly. The reflection is usually described as a woman in attire consistent with the early 20th century. Her posture straight, yet tinged with melancholy. Those who encounter her often describe a profound sadness in the air, a sense that the chambermaid continues to watch the gorge she once admired, trapped between the world of the living and the realm of the departed. Staff members of the hotel have their own experiences, often noticing anomalies during cleaning or routine maintenance. Housekeepers report items mysteriously moved from one location to another, or doors opening and closing on their own, as if someone is walking through the rooms even when the hotel is empty. They describe an uncanny awareness of being observed, or sudden cold drafts that cannot be explained by air currents or ventilation systems. Longtime employees have grown accustomed to these phenomena, accepting them as part of the hotel's character and perhaps as evidence of the chambermaid's enduring presence. The Columbia Gorge Hotel's haunting extends beyond visual and auditory encounters. Guests often speak of an oppressive sense of melancholy in certain areas, particularly along hallways near rooms historically associated with the chambermaid. Even during the day, when sunlight spills through the windows and the hotel bustles with activity, some visitors feel a weight in the atmosphere, a lingering echo of sorrow that is difficult to articulate. This pervasive sadness, paired with the other manifestations, suggests that the chambermaid's emotional energy has remained imprinted on the environment, influencing the perceptions and feelings of those who enter her former domain. Paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have been drawn to the hotel for decades, seeking to document the supernatural phenomena reported by visitors. Audio recordings have occasionally captured faint, indistinct footsteps and whispered murmurs in empty corridors. Cameras sometimes reveal anomalies in windows or reflective surfaces, capturing shapes that appear human yet fade upon closer inspection. While skeptics may attribute these occurrences to imagination or atmospheric conditions, the consistency of reports across decades lends credibility to the idea that the Columbia Gorge Hotel is more than just a picturesque retreat. It is a site where the emotional residue of past tragedies remains tangible. Despite its haunted reputation, the Columbia Gorge Hotel continues to welcome visitors from around the world, drawn by its architecture, luxury, and sweeping views of the gorge. Its dining rooms, ballrooms, and guest suites remain filled with activity and life. Yet for those who pause and pay attention, the hotel reveals an entirely different dimension. The echo of footsteps, the phantom perfume, and the fleeting reflections in the windows suggest that the chambermaid has never truly left, her spirit lingering as a silent observer of the lives that now unfold where hers once ended. The Columbia Gorge Hotel stands as a testament to both human achievement and human fragility. Its grandeur and beauty coexists with a quiet sorrow, a haunting presence that reminds visitors of the thin boundary between life and death. Guests who encounter the chambermaid's subtle manifestations often leave with a mixture of awe and unease, sensing that the hotel is not merely a place of luxury and relaxation, but a keeper of memory, grief, and lingering spirits. For those who walk its hallways, gaze out its windows, or pause in its corridors, the Columbia Gorge Hotel offers a rare and sobering glimpse into a past that refuses to fade, a past carried by the footsteps, scent, and reflections of a woman whose story remains etched into the very walls of the hotel. Gazing eternally over the gorge she once loved, the Selwood Bridge in Portland stretches across the Willamette River, connecting neighborhoods and serving as a daily thoroughfare for commuters, cyclists, and pedestrians. By day, it is a vital artery of the city, its steel and concrete structure blending functionality with the quiet beauty of the river it spans. Yet beneath its ordinary exterior lies a history steeped in tragedy. Over the years, the bridge has become known as a site of countless suicides, earning it a grim reputation among locals and travelers alike. Its tragic legacy has left echoes that some claim are impossible to ignore, manifesting as ghostly figures, disembodied footsteps, and fleeting shadows along the walkway and railings. The first whispers of the Selwood Bridge's haunting date back decades. Reports began with subtle, unnerving experiences. Joggers hearing footsteps behind them on an otherwise empty pathway. Cyclists spotting figures on the railings of the bridge at dawn or dusk. And pedestrians sensing a presence that seemed simultaneously near and impossible to approach. Over time, these experiences became more consistent, leading many to believe that the bridge is more than just a crossing, it is a conduit for restless spirits tethered to the river below. Joggers in particular are among the most frequent witnesses to the bridge's spectral phenomena. Early in the morning, when the city is quiet and the river is shrouded in mist, runners have reported the unmistakable sound of footsteps following them, matching their pace exactly, though no one is visible. The steps are often soft, echoing unnervingly against the concrete. Yet when the jogger stops or turns to investigate, the sound vanishes, leaving only the eerie stillness of the river and the empty walkway. Some runners describe a sudden tightening in their chest, a feeling of being watched, while others report the sensation of an unseen hand brushing against their shoulder or back. A fleeting but unforgettable encounter. Cyclists, too, have shared unnerving experiences along the Selwood Bridge. Many describe spotting a pale figure standing at the edge, staring down at the swirling waters below. The figure is usually motionless, its features indistinct yet human, dressed in muted tones that blend with the misty morning. When approached, whether by slow pedaling or cautious foot traffic, the figure disappears as if it were never there, leaving only an empty railing and a faint whisper of wind. Witnesses often report a lingering sense of sorrow or tension, as if the figure carries the weight of untold grief, replaying its final moments in the stillness of the river. Pedestrians walking across the bridge, particularly in the quiet hours of evening or early morning, have encountered similar experiences. Some describe feeling an invisible presence that seems to move alongside them, while others see shadowy shapes flit at the periphery of their vision. Occasionally, travelers report hearing whispers, indistinct words carried by the wind that seem to emanate from nowhere, yet convey unmistakable urgency or anguish. The combination of these phenomena creates an atmosphere where the past is tangible, and the weight of the lives lost on the bridge is felt as if the river itself remembers their despair. The bridge's structure itself seems to amplify these encounters. Its long, straight walkway, lined with railings and open to the elements, allows sounds to carry and shadows to stretch across the concrete in unusual ways. The mist rising from the Willamette River adds an ethereal quality, obscuring details and creating an environment where fleeting shapes or reflections can appear human. Many who frequent the Selwood Bridge at these hours report that the natural conditions, fog, wind, and dim light, enhance the sense that the bridge is alive with memories, a conduit for the sorrow of those who ended their lives above its waters. Over the years, some have attempted to rationalize the experiences. Psychologists and skeptics suggest that the bridge's reputation may heighten anxiety and self-consciousness, making ordinary shadows and sounds seem supernatural. Yet the consistency of reports from people who have no prior knowledge of the legends challenges such simple explanations. From joggers and cyclists to late-night pedestrians, the accounts share a striking similarity: the feeling of being followed, the glimpse of a pale figure, or the echo of footsteps that cannot be traced to any living person. Locals have developed a cautious respect for the bridge, particularly during early morning and late evening hours. Many avoid it entirely during times when mist and darkness are at their peak, while others who traverse it regularly remain vigilant, keeping an eye on the railings and listening carefully for footsteps or whispers. Those who do choose to cross often report a mix of fear and curiosity, a sense that the bridge is both a practical crossing and a place where the past refuses to remain buried. The Selwood Bridge's haunting is not limited to visual or auditory phenomena. Some visitors describe an oppressive feeling of sadness in certain areas, as if the atmosphere itself carries the weight of the lives lost. Cyclists and walkers alike have noted sudden chills, moments where the air seems unusually heavy, or an inexplicable sense of presence pressing close. These experiences often leave a lasting impression, a subtle awareness that the bridge is more than a structure. It is a witness, a memorial, and a conduit for energies that have never truly departed. Despite its tragic history, the Selwood Bridge continues to serve the people of Portland, carrying commuters, cyclists, and pedestrians across the Willamette River every day. Its functionality and beauty cannot erase the layers of sorrow embedded in its history, nor the accounts of those who have felt the presence of the departed along its span. For those who encounter the bridge in quiet, fog-laden hours, the experience is a reminder that human emotion, particularly despair and grief, can leave enduring imprints on the world. The Selwood Bridge is a place of contrasts, a vital piece of infrastructure and a silent witness to countless tragedies, a space of everyday movement and a stage for lingering spirits. Its haunted reputation is not merely folklore, but a tapestry woven from decades of experience. Echoing footsteps, fleeting figures, and the profound sorrow of lives cut short. For joggers, cyclists, and pedestrians who cross its span at the edges of night or dawn, the bridge offers more than a crossing over water. It offers a brush with the past, a glimpse into lingering grief, and a haunting reminder that some tragedies refuse to fade, dissolving only into the mist that rises from the Willamette below. The Benson Hotel in Portland stands as a beacon of elegance and history. Its grand lobby and ornate architecture, a testament to early 20th century luxury. From the moment one steps through its doors, polished floors, gleaming chandeliers, and rich wood paneling evoke an era of sophistication and refinement. Over the decades, the Benson has welcomed countless guests, from travelers seeking comfort to dignitaries and celebrities passing through the city. Yet, behind this polished exterior lies a darker side, one marked by tragedy and lingering presence. Though few know the details, whispers persist of guests who ended their lives within the hotel's walls, and of eerie phenomena that continue to unsettle staff and visitors alike. The hotel's history is intertwined with both grandeur and sorrow. While the Benson was celebrated as a luxurious escape, certain rooms and hallways became silent witnesses to despair. Guests who succumbed to their own anguish left more than memories behind. They left echoes, traces of emotion and energy that many believe continue to resonate within the building. Staff and visitors have consistently reported subtle but unsettling experiences. Elevators that move on their own, cold spots in otherwise warm rooms, and the sudden appearance of a man in an old-fashioned suit wandering the halls before fading into shadow. These phenomena hint at the presence of lingering spirits, tethered to the spaces where they lived, and ultimately died, leaving their imprints on the hotel's atmosphere. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves the elevators. Guests and employees have described elevators that operate without human intervention, stopping at random floors or opening and closing doors when no one is inside. Some have reported pressing the button for a specific floor, only for the elevator to pause between levels or descend to the lobby without explanation. The movements are often accompanied by a sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes are observing the elevator's occupants. Staff members, particularly those working late-night shifts, have come to accept these occurrences as part of the hotel's haunted character. Though the sudden jolt of an elevator moving alone never fails to startle even the most seasoned employees. Another frequent report involves the apparition of a man dressed in early 20th century attire. Witnesses describe him as wearing a dark suit, crisp shirt, and neatly tied cravat, his appearance sharply out of place in the modern hotel. He is often seen pacing the corridors, sometimes standing silently near the elevator or in a hallway corner, observing passers-by with a quiet intensity. When approached, the figure does not respond, and within moments, he vanishes as if dissolving into shadow. Those who encounter him describe a profound sense of melancholy, a feeling that the man carries the weight of a story left unfinished, and that his presence is a remnant of the hotel's past tragedies. Guests have reported other, more subtle experiences as well. In certain rooms and hallways, people describe sudden cold drafts that appear without cause, doors that open or close on their own, and inexplicable noises such as footsteps, whispers, or the rustle of clothing. Some have recounted feeling an unseen hand brush their shoulder, or the sensation of being guided or observed by a presence they cannot see. The experiences are fleeting yet powerful, leaving a lingering impression that the hotel is not only a place of comfort, but also a vessel for residual emotion. The Benson Hotel's history of tragedy is also reflected in the stories of rooms where guests ended their lives. Accounts suggest that the energy left behind by these events has created areas where the atmosphere feels heavy or oppressive. Visitors have described waking in the night to the sensation of being watched or hearing soft sighs and movements in the darkness. These experiences, combined with visual apparitions and the unexplained activity of the elevators, suggest that the hotel retains the emotional imprint of the lives it has housed, both joyous and tragic. Staff members, particularly those who have worked at the hotel for many years, are often the most familiar with its paranormal aspects. They report that while the hotel functions smoothly in the daytime, the stillness of night seems to awaken its hidden presences. Cleaning crews hear footsteps echoing along the corridors. Security personnel report shadows moving in the periphery of their vision, and front desk attendants occasionally witness the elevator lights flicker or move without command. Many staff have developed a cautious respect for the hotel, understanding that its elegance coexists with a lingering, intangible presence that cannot be fully explained. Visitors to the Benson Hotel often experience a mixture of awe and unease, while its architecture and service impress. The subtle indications of its haunted history provide a stark contrast to the polished exterior. Guests frequently report an inexplicable chill when walking certain hallways, fleeting glimpses of figures in shadow, or the quiet sensation of a presence following them as they move through the hotel. These occurrences are often subtle, easy to dismiss, yet their consistency across decades of reports suggests something more than imagination or coincidence. Paranormal enthusiasts have long been drawn to the Benson Hotel, hoping to document the unexplained activity that so many have described. Audio recordings occasionally capture faint whispers, footsteps, or unexplained mechanical noises, while cameras sometimes reveal shadowy shapes in corners or near elevators. Skeptics may argue that old buildings creak, settle, and play tricks on perception. Yet the sheer volume and consistency of first-hand accounts suggests that the Benson's haunted reputation is deeply rooted in its history and the residual energy left behind by those who suffered within its walls. The Benson Hotel is more than just a historic landmark. It is a living repository of human emotion, memory, and, in some cases, tragedy. Guests and staff alike may find themselves in the presence of echoes from the past, footsteps that carry the weight of despair, fleeting apparitions dressed in the fashion of a bygone era, and elevators that seem to move under unseen influence. For those who notice these subtleties, the hotel offers a glimpse into a hidden dimension where life, death, and lingering emotion intersect. Its polished floors and sparkling chandeliers conceal the shadows of history. Yet for those attuned to them, the presence of the past is unmistakable, a quiet, haunting companion within the halls of Portland's most elegant hotel. The Eugene Hotel, once a glamorous cornerstone of the city's downtown, has long held a reputation that extends beyond luxury and hospitality. Built in the early 20th century, it was originally celebrated for its opulent design, lavish ballrooms, and finely furnished guest rooms. Patrons from near and far would arrive seeking the elegance and sophistication that defined the hotel's early years. But as time passed, the Eugene Hotel began to decline, and with that decline came tragedy. Over decades, certain floors became infamous as sites of suicides and personal despair, leaving an indelible mark on the building and, according to many reports, on the spirits that linger within it. Guests and staff alike describe an oppressive atmosphere in specific areas of the hotel. These spaces are often associated with the floors where lives were lost, and those who spend time there speak of an unshakable heaviness, a sense of sorrow that seems to cling to the walls. Visitors walking the hallways have reported sudden chills, inexplicable feelings of sadness, or a sensation of being watched by an unseen presence. Even the air itself feels different in these spaces, dense and thick with the weight of lingering emotion, as if the building itself remembers the pain of those who once lived and died within its walls. Perhaps the most commonly reported phenomenon at the Eugene Hotel is the sound of a woman sobbing. Staff members who work late-night shifts frequently hear the quiet, unmistakable sound echoing through the stairwells. The crying often rises and falls, distant yet painfully close, with no discernible source. Employees have described the experience as profoundly unsettling, as though the sorrow itself is tangible, pressing against them even in empty stairwells. Guests have also recounted waking in the middle of the night to hear the same sound drifting beneath their doors or down dimly lit hallways. The sobbing is always described as mournful and persistent, a haunting reminder of the tragedies that took place within the hotel. In addition to auditory phenomena, visitors report visual and tactile experiences. Some have glimpsed fleeting shadows moving along the hallways or across stairwells, vanishing when approached. Others have felt sudden, inexplicable touches, a hand brushing an arm, a cold draft against the neck, moments that are fleeting but leave a lasting impression. These encounters are often accompanied by a profound emotional response, a sense of empathy for the lost spirits whose presence seems so strongly felt in the hotel's decaying corridors. The Eugene Hotel's decline over the decades only deepened the atmosphere of melancholy, as maintenance waned and the once pristine interiors became worn and faded. The sense of abandonment seemed to amplify the building's haunting qualities. Peeling wallpaper, dim lighting, and empty ballrooms create an environment where shadows lengthen and ordinary sounds, creaking floorboards. The hum of distant traffic take on a spectral quality. For those sensitive to the hotel's energy, the combination of its architectural decay and tragic history makes certain floors feel like spaces suspended between the living world and the world of those who have passed on. Staff members who have worked at the Eugene Hotel for years often speak of routine encounters that defy explanation. Housekeepers have reported doors opening or closing on their own, lights flickering unexpectedly, and objects moving without human intervention. Many of these occurrences are subtle, almost easy to dismiss, yet the cumulative effect creates a constant awareness of presence in the building. Security personnel working overnight shifts have also described feelings of being followed or watched. The sensation is often so strong that even seasoned employees cannot ignore it. Guests who experience the hotel's supernatural side often describe a mixture of fear and empathy. While the phenomena can be unsettling, they are rarely overtly threatening. Instead, the impression left is one of sorrowful persistence, echoes of lives that ended too soon, memories that refuse to fade, and the quiet, mournful presence of spirits caught between worlds. Visitors frequently speak of a need to move quickly through certain hallways or stairwells, yet at the same time, they cannot help but feel a connection to the lingering energy, a recognition of the tragedy that shaped the space. The stairwells, in particular, seem to serve as conduits for the hotel's paranormal activity. They are narrow, often dimly lit, and carry sound in a way that amplifies even the slightest noise. Footsteps, whispers, or the sound of sobbing travel easily, and the confined space intensifies the emotional impact of these phenomena. Many who have ventured into the stairwells alone at night report a chilling sense of immediacy, a feeling that they are not merely walking through a building, but moving through a space where past sorrow remains alive and present. Paranormal investigators have taken an interest in the Eugene Hotel over the years, documenting the sounds, shadows, and temperature anomalies reported by guests and staff. Recordings occasionally capture faint cries or murmurs that seem to come from empty stairwells, while infrared cameras sometimes reveal fleeting shapes moving through the hallways. Skeptics argue that the hotel's age and design could explain some of these occurrences, but the consistency of eyewitness accounts over decades suggests that the experiences are more than coincidence. Many agree that the building itself, steeped in tragedy, serves as a repository for the emotional energy of its past occupants. Despite its reputation, the Eugene Hotel remains a functioning establishment. Visitors are drawn to its historic charm, its central location, and its glimpses of early 20th century elegance. Yet for those who pause and pay attention, the hotel offers an experience beyond aesthetics or comfort. It is a place where the past is palpable, where sorrow lingers in the stairwells and hallways, and where the memory of lives ended in despair continues to echo. Guests who encounter the sobbing, the cold drafts, or the fleeting shadows leave with a profound awareness that the Eugene Hotel is more than a building. It is a witness, a vessel, and a silent guardian of the stories that refuse to fade. The Eugene Hotel is a reminder that even spaces built for joy and luxury can carry the weight of human tragedy. Its elegant exterior belies the profound sorrow embedded within certain floors, and those who enter with open eyes and ears may find themselves in the presence of a lingering past. The sound of a woman sobbing in the stairwell, the oppressive sadness felt along certain corridors, and the fleeting shadows glimpsed in dim corners all serve as poignant reminders that some stories, no matter how tragic, continue to resonate, leaving an indelible mark on the spaces they inhabit. The Yaquina Bay Bridge in Newport, Oregon, stretches gracefully across the shimmering waters of Yaquina Bay, a marvel of engineering that has become an iconic symbol of the Oregon coast. By day, the bridge offers breathtaking views of the Pacific Ocean, rolling hills, and the harbor below. Tourists and locals alike admire its elegant arches and Art Deco design, often stopping to photograph its sweeping spans or simply to take in the salty sea air. Yet behind its beauty lies a history marked by tragedy. Over the decades, the bridge has claimed numerous lives, and with those deaths come stories that speak of restless spirits, unexplained phenomena, and a lingering sense of sorrow that haunts both the roadway and the waters beneath. Fishermen who work beneath the Yaquina Bay Bridge are among the first to report strange occurrences. In the quiet early mornings or on misty afternoons, they have described hearing screams echoing across the water, accompanied by splashes as if someone has jumped into the bay. Yet when they look, there is no one there. Boats remain steady in the current, nets float untouched, and the only ripples in the water come from the movement of the tide. Some fishermen insist that these sounds are not carried by the wind or distorted by echoes. They are distinct, human, and filled with unmistakable terror and despair. Many who have experienced it report a deep, physical shiver, as if the grief itself is tangible. Pressing down from the structure above, drivers crossing the Yaquina Bay Bridge at night have their own stories of the supernatural. On late-night journeys, when the coastal fog rolls in and visibility is limited, travelers have reported glimpsing a woman in white walking along the bridge's edge. The figure is often described as ethereal, her dress flowing unnaturally, her movements deliberate yet almost ghostly in their stillness. When approached, she vanishes as if swallowed by the mist or dissolved into the night air. Some drivers recount seeing her reflected in rearview mirrors, standing silently in the back seat before disappearing when the car reaches the middle of the bridge. The fleeting nature of these sightings amplifies the terror and mystery, leaving witnesses shaken and questioning whether what they saw was real or imagined. The tragic history of the Yaquina Bay Bridge contributes heavily to its haunting reputation. Since its construction, there have been numerous incidents of individuals taking their own lives from the bridge's towering height. The combination of cold, swift currents, the harsh drop, and the isolation of certain areas makes it a place of desperation for those in crisis. Many believe that the spirits of those lost continue to linger, drawn to the site of their final moments, unable or unwilling to move on. The bridge, elegant and seemingly eternal, has become a magnet for sorrow, capturing echoes of grief and despair in its arches and along its walkways. Pedestrians on the bridge have reported sensations that defy explanation. Some describe an icy chill that descends suddenly, even on warm nights, as if the presence of the lost is pressing against them. Others report a sense of being watched, accompanied by the faint rustle of clothing or footsteps that echo along the metal and concrete. Occasionally, travelers feel a brush against their arms or shoulders, a fleeting touch that cannot be traced to any person nearby. These experiences are subtle yet profoundly unsettling, creating an awareness that the bridge is not merely a static structure, but a living repository of human emotion and lingering energy. The coastal environment itself seems to amplify the bridge's haunting qualities. Fog rolling in from the Pacific, the constant ebb and flow of the tide, and the sounds of gulls and waves all contribute to a natural eeriness. Shadows are elongated across the walkway and railings, creating illusions that often feel disturbingly real. The cries and footsteps reported by fishermen and pedestrians are sometimes carried further by the wind, blending with the natural soundscape to create a surreal, almost dreamlike atmosphere. Those who traverse the bridge in these conditions often describe a sense that the past is overlaying the present, that the bridge itself is alive with memory and emotion. In addition to sightings and sounds, some witnesses report more direct manifestations. Drivers have noted mist or fog that seems unusually dense around certain sections of the bridge, often coinciding with the moment a figure appears or a cry is heard. Fishermen sometimes notice waves moving oddly, as if something unseen is moving beneath the surface, or the sudden, inexplicable movement of their lines and nets. The experiences are brief, unpredictable, and impossible to fully anticipate, but they leave a lasting impression on those who encounter them. Locals have developed a wary respect for the Yaquina Bay Bridge. Many avoid traveling it alone at night, while others travel quickly across its span, keeping their eyes fixed on the road and their senses alert to any unusual movement or sound. Despite its haunting, the bridge remains a vital part of the city's infrastructure, carrying thousands of commuters, tourists, and travelers daily. Its elegance and utility coexist with a subtle tension, a reminder that beauty and tragedy can occupy the same space, sometimes simultaneously. Paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have long been drawn to the Yaquina Bay Bridge, hoping to document its mysteries. Audio recordings occasionally capture distant screams or splashes with no discernible origin. Cameras sometimes reveal fleeting figures along the railing or hazy forms moving through the fog. While skeptics may argue that wind, reflections, and coastal weather conditions account for much of what is seen or heard, the consistency and emotional weight of the reports suggest something more, a lingering presence of those who were lost, tied inexorably to the place of their death. The Yaquina Bay Bridge is both a triumph of engineering and a monument to human vulnerability. Its arches and sweeping spans offer breathtaking views of the Oregon coast, yet the bridge also serves as a silent witness to countless tragedies. Fishermen hear the echoes of despair beneath its piers. Drivers glimpse ethereal figures along its edges, and pedestrians feel the subtle, pervasive weight of grief that clings to its concrete and steel. For those who traverse the bridge with eyes and ears open, it is not merely a crossing over water, but a passage through memory, sorrow, and the lingering presence of souls who remain tied to the place where their lives ended. The bridge carries them all, silently, over the waters of Yaquina Bay, a testament to the beauty and The haunting of human experience. The Old Pioneer Cemetery in Jacksonville, Oregon, is a place steeped in history and quiet reflection. Its grounds filled with weathered headstones, towering oaks, and the echoes of generations long past. Established in the mid-19th century, the cemetery holds the graves of early settlers, pioneers, and members of families who helped shape the town. Visitors are often drawn by the sense of stepping back in time, walking among names and dates etched into stone, tracing the stories of lives that unfolded long before modern Jacksonville existed. Yet beneath the layers of history lies a darker presence and atmosphere of lingering sorrow and unexplained phenomena that has given the cemetery a reputation for the supernatural. Though it is revered as a historical site, locals and visitors alike have long spoken of the cemetery's more somber energy. Over the decades, stories have circulated of mourners so overcome with grief that they took their own lives near gravesites, their despair leaving an emotional imprint on the land. These tales, though difficult to verify, are said to account for the strange experiences reported by those who wander the cemetery after dusk. The air in certain sections is described as heavy, almost tangible, carrying the weight of emotions left unresolved. Even during the daytime, when sunlight filters through the trees and the cemetery is quiet, some report an unsettling stillness, a feeling that the past is observing the present. Paranormal phenomena at the Old Pioneer Cemetery are varied but often consistent across reports. One of the most frequently mentioned is the appearance of glowing orbs. Witnesses describe these lights as small, luminescent spheres that float above or near headstones, moving in ways that defy explanation. Some seem to hover silently in one place, while others drift along pathways or dart through the trees. Those who encounter the orbs often speak of a deep, inexplicable sadness accompanying them, a sense that the lights are more than mere visual curiosities. They are the lingering essence of spirits unable to find peace. Photographs sometimes capture the orbs in motion, but they often appear only in person, vanishing when approached, leaving witnesses with a haunting memory of an encounter that feels both intimate and otherworldly. Visitors frequently report sudden cold drafts that seem to move independently of the wind. Walking among the headstones, a person might feel a chill brush across their neck or shoulders, even on warm days, or experience a drop in temperature in localized areas where no natural explanation exists. These cold spots often coincide with other phenomena. A whisper carried just out of hearing, the faintest rustle of clothing, or the sensation of being touched by an unseen presence. For many, the cold drafts evoke not just fear, but a profound awareness of the cemetery as a space where the living and the dead intersect, where grief and memory linger in the very soil. Perhaps the most unsettling experiences involve the pervasive sensation of being watched. Visitors often describe the feeling that eyes are upon them from behind headstones, from the shadows of the trees, or from a distance across the rolling grounds. Yet powerful enough to make even seasoned historians or casual walkers uneasy. Some who linger near older graves report an intensified feeling of scrutiny, as if the spirits of those long deceased are observing their presence, silently bearing witness to the living's intrusion into their resting place. Footsteps are another commonly reported phenomenon. Those who venture into the cemetery alone at dusk often hear the soft crunch of shoes on gravel or the rustle of leaves behind them, matching their pace exactly. When they turn, the sounds cease abruptly, leaving only the whispering wind and the shadows of the towering oaks. Some reports hearing voices, faint and unintelligible, as if conversations from the past have been captured and replayed in the still air. These sounds are rarely coherent, but their presence adds to the impression that the cemetery is a repository for human sorrow and memory, preserving not just names on headstones, but echoes of lived experience and emotional residue. The layout and environment of the Old Pioneer Cemetery amplify these experiences. Narrow pathways wind through dense clusters of monuments, and the tall trees cast long shadows, even in daylight. creating an atmosphere where light and darkness mingle in ways that can trick the eye and stir the imagination. Overgrown grass and moss-covered stones lend an air of neglect that deepens the feeling of melancholy, while distant roads and the occasional passing car remind visitors that the world outside the cemetery continues, even as this place seems suspended in time. Local lore surrounding the cemetery often emphasizes respect and caution. Residents advise visitors not to linger in certain sections after dark, warning that the emotional energy there can be overwhelming. Paranormal investigators and ghost enthusiasts are drawn to the site precisely for its reputation, setting up cameras and audio equipment in hopes of capturing evidence of the supernatural. Recordings sometimes pick up unexplained noises, whispers, footsteps, or fleeting murmurs that defy explanation. Cameras occasionally reveal orbs or unusual shadows, though skeptics suggest these may be reflections, insects, or light anomalies. Regardless, those who experience the phenomena firsthand often leave with a sense of awe and unease that is difficult to shake. Despite its eerie reputation, the old Pioneer Cemetery remains an important historical site. Its weathered stones tell the stories of Jacksonville's founders, pioneers, and early residents, preserving the city's heritage for future generations. For those attuned to the cemetery's subtle energies, however, the visit is more than a historical excursion. Walking among the headstones, hearing a whisper on the wind, feeling a chill pass, or witnessing a drifting orb provides a tangible connection to the past. A reminder that grief, loss, and human emotion leave imprints on the world that endure far beyond a single lifetime. The old Pioneer Cemetery is a place where history and the supernatural converge. Its monuments commemorate lives long past, while its atmosphere, often heavy with sorrow, suggests the presence of those who cannot away. The glowing orbs, the cold drafts, the footsteps, and the sensation of being watched all serve as subtle markers of this lingering presence. For visitors who pay attention, the cemetery offers a unique experience, a direct encounter with the echoes of despair and memory that inhabit the space, a silent testament to the enduring human struggle between life, death, and the remnants of emotion that refuse to fade. Portland State University, situated in the heart of downtown Portland, is known for its bustling campus life, diverse student body, and historic academic halls. Over the decades, the university has grown into a vibrant institution where thousands of students pursue their studies, live in dormitories, and navigate the challenges and triumphs of young adulthood. Yet beneath the energetic facade of lectures, campus events, and late-night study sessions lies a darker history, leaving behind echoes of despair that some claim continued to haunt the university long after the individuals themselves have passed. Reports of paranormal activity at Portland State University are surprisingly consistent across decades and across witnesses. Students who spend long nights in dormitories or study halls often describe experiences that defy logic and explanation. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the sound of voices calling a student's name. These voices are said to be clear and distinct, often sounding like someone familiar. Yet when the student turns, there is no one there. Some report hearing these whispers late at night while walking through dimly lit corridors or sitting alone in study rooms. The voices can startle even the most skeptical of students, creating a sense of unease that lingers long after the encounter. Lights flickering violently is another frequently reported occurrence in certain dormitories and lecture halls. Fluorescent lights have been known to flash rapidly without cause, sometimes plunging entire rooms into brief moments of darkness. Students working late hours often report that the lights seem to respond to their presence, flickering more intensely as they move across a hallway or glance toward a particular room. Some have described the experience as almost interactive, as if the building itself is aware of their movements. The sudden bursts of darkness, coupled with the eerie silence of an otherwise empty hall, contribute to the unnerving atmosphere that has earned these areas of campus a haunted reputation. Footsteps in empty hallways are another common occurrence reported by students. Dorm residents, particularly those returning from late-night study sessions, often hear the rhythmic thud of footsteps behind them, matching their pace exactly. When they stop or turn to investigate, the sound ceases abruptly, leaving only silence and the echo of their own heartbeat. Academic halls are similarly affected. Students working late in the library or in computer labs have reported the sensation of being followed, hearing persistent footsteps in corridors that are otherwise completely vacant. These sounds often evoke a deep sense of dread, as if the history of past tragedies is replaying itself for anyone who ventures through the campus after hours. Some students have reported even more direct paranormal manifestations. In rare instances, fleeting shadows have been seen moving across walls or along the edges of hallways, vanishing when approached. Others describe sudden temperature drops, localized cold spots that chill them to the bone despite the warmth of the building. These experiences are often accompanied by an overwhelming sense of sadness or heaviness, a tangible reminder of the tragedies that have occurred within these spaces. Many who encounter such phenomena describe a deep, unshakable empathy, as if the presence of those lost lingers, trying to communicate or simply be acknowledged. The university's long history and high density of student life seem to amplify these occurrences. Dormitories built in earlier decades, with narrow hallways and dense layouts, create natural acoustics that can make sounds echo and intensify. But the consistency and specificity of reported phenomena suggest that something more than architecture is at play. Late-night study sessions, quiet libraries, and empty lecture halls create the perfect environment for residual energy to manifest. Many students note that the haunting is most noticeable during periods of emotional vulnerability. During finals week, after long nights of studying, or when students are already feeling isolated or stressed. Over the years, campus staff have become accustomed to these reports, though they approach them with a mixture of skepticism and cautious respect. Custodial staff often hear footsteps or doors opening and closing without explanation. Faculty members who remain in empty classrooms for extended hours have occasionally experienced similar phenomena: strange noises, inexplicable cold spots, or the sense of being observed. While such reports are rarely documented officially, they contribute to the collective lore of Portland State University's haunted reputation. The experiences at Portland State University often leave students with a mixture of fear and reflection. Many describe a sense of connection to the campus that goes beyond academic pursuit, a feeling that the university itself is alive with memory and emotion, shaping the atmosphere in subtle but undeniable ways. Students often leave late-night encounters with an awareness that the halls they traverse are more than just corridors and rooms. They are vessels for human emotion, memory, and loss. Despite these unsettling reports, life at Portland State University continues with the vibrancy and energy typical of a major urban campus. The haunting is rarely aggressive. It is subtle, persistent, and poignant, often felt rather than seen. For those who notice it, the university becomes a space of duality, a place of learning, growth, and achievement, intertwined with the echoes of sorrow and the presence of those whose lives ended too soon. For students walking the dimly lit dorm corridors, for those returning to empty lecture halls in the dead of night, the university offers a constant reminder that the past is never truly gone, and the sudden chills are not merely phenomena. They are threads that connect the living to those who remain. Invisible but profoundly present, Portland State University is a place where intellect and history converge, and where the echoes of lives lost continue to whisper through the halls, leaving an indelible mark on the students who pass through them. Crater Lake, located in the heart of Klamath County, Oregon, is renowned for its breathtaking beauty. Formed nearly 8,000 years ago, when the collapse of Mount Mazama created a deep volcanic crater. The lake's striking blue waters and steep cliffs draw visitors from around the world. Its serenity and natural majesty inspire awe in all who gaze upon it. Yet beneath the tranquil surface lies a history steeped in mystery, tragedy, and unsettling legends. For centuries, Crater Lake has been associated with inexplicable disappearances and paranormal phenomena, its depths seemingly holding more than just water. The lake's remote location and sheer cliffs add to its ominous reputation. Hiking trails that offer panoramic views also create a sense of isolation, amplifying the feeling of vulnerability for those who venture too close to the water's edge. Many visitors describe an almost hypnotic quality to the lake's glassy surface, as if it lures people toward it. According to local legend, the lake is not just a body of water, but a living entity, sensitive to human emotion and capable of drawing the despairing into its depths. Stories passed down through generations warn that those who approach the edge with sorrow or hopelessness risk being pulled into the lake by an unseen force, vanishing without a trace. Eyewitness accounts of strange occurrences are numerous. Hikers and tourists have reported seeing figures walking across the surface of the water, as if it were solid ground. These figures often appear in the early morning mist or at dusk, their movements deliberate and human, yet utterly impossible. Observers describe the chilling moment when the figures reach the middle of the lake, only to sink beneath the glassy surface without creating ripples, leaving no indication that anyone was ever there. Some who witnessed these phenomena report a profound sense of helplessness and dread, a feeling that the lake itself is alive, and that it has claimed yet another soul. In addition to visual phenomena, Crater Lake is associated with auditory anomalies. Visitors have described hearing faint, mournful cries carried on the wind, sometimes echoing across the cliffs and amplifying the lake's sense of isolation. The cries are often difficult to pinpoint, fading as suddenly as they appear, leaving only an eerie silence in their wake. These sounds, coupled with the lake's unusual optical effects, can create an overwhelming sense of unease, as if the natural beauty surrounding the lake is masking something far more sinister. Over the years, the lake has been the site of countless accidents and disappearances. While some of these can be attributed to missteps on the treacherous cliffs, sudden weather changes, or hypothermia in the frigid water, there are cases that defy rational explanation. Experienced hikers and swimmers have vanished without a trace, leaving search parties baffled. Boats launched to explore the lake have returned empty or been found abandoned, as though their occupants had simply evaporated into the thin mountain air. The mysterious nature of these disappearances has only fueled the legends, embedding the lake in local folklore as a place where despair can become fatal. Visitors often describe an oppressive atmosphere near the water's edge. The air seems heavier, carrying a subtle yet unmistakable sense of melancholy. Those who linger too long report feelings of unease, nausea, or an inexplicable emotional weight pressing down upon them. Some recount sudden cold drafts that cut through even the warmest clothing, as if the lake itself is exhaling a frigid warning. In rare instances, people have claimed to feel a gentle tug at their ankles or a sensation of being pulled forward, reinforcing the idea that the lake exerts an almost sentient force over its surroundings. Paranormal enthusiasts and investigators have long been drawn to Crater Lake, hoping to document its eerie activity. Nighttime excursions often yield reports of strange lights over the water, shadows moving along the cliffs, and inexplicable temperature drops. Audio equipment sometimes records faint cries or whispers, though the source remains unidentified. Photographs occasionally capture unusual distortions in the water or fleeting shapes just beneath the surface. Images that cannot be explained by wind, currents, or reflections. Despite skepticism, the sheer number of consistent reports over decades lends a chilling weight to the lake's haunted reputation. The local legends are not solely focused on the living. Native American lore surrounding the area hints at the lake's spiritual significance. According to Klamath tribal stories, the lake was formed after a cataclysmic eruption, and it has long been considered a place of powerful spirits. Some tales speak of guardians who watch over the waters, ensuring that those with unresolved grief or malicious intent do not disrupt the balance of the natural and spiritual worlds. Modern reports of ghostly figures, vanishings, and inexplicable cries may be echoes of these ancient beliefs, lingering in the collective memory of the region. Despite the danger and the unsettling stories, Crater Lake remains a destination for thousands each year. Hikers, photographers, and adventurers come to witness its pristine waters, towering cliffs, and breathtaking panoramas. Yet for those attuned to the lake's darker side, the experience is far from purely scenic. Observing the surface, one may feel the weight of history and tragedy, a reminder that beneath the calm exterior lies a depth of sorrow and mystery. Even casual visitors often report an instinctive hesitation, a reluctance to linger too long near the water, as if the lake silently warns them to keep their distance. Crater Lake's enduring allure lies in its duality. It is both stunningly beautiful and deeply haunting. The glassy surface conceals unsolved disappearances and unexplained phenomena, while the surrounding cliffs echo with stories of despair and caution. For those who pay attention, the lake offers an experience that is both awe-inspiring and unsettling, a glimpse into a place where nature and tragedy intertwine. The figures that vanish beneath the surface, the cries that drift across the cliffs, and the inexplicable chill that settles on visitors, all serve as a reminder that Crater Lake is more than a body of water. It's a repository of sorrow, a keeper of secrets, and a haunting testament to the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface of our world. Red College, nestled in the quiet neighborhoods of Southeast Portland, is a place renowned for its rigorous academics, vibrant intellectual culture, and commitment to independent thought. Students are drawn here for the promise of exploration, debate, and discovery. Walking paths lined with stately trees and historic brick buildings that have housed generations of scholars. Yet beneath the college's esteemed reputation lies a darker, more somber history. Over the decades, Reed has witnessed multiple tragic suicides, and many believe that the sorrow left behind has never fully dissipated. Today, students and staff report experiences that suggest the campus harbors lingering presences, particularly in dormitories and near certain stairwells where despair is said to have taken root. Dormitories, often filled with late-night study sessions and the quiet hum of student life, have become the focal point for much of the college's reported paranormal activity. Residents have described feeling an oppressive heaviness, as though invisible eyes watch their every movement. Some speak of sudden drops in temperature, cold drafts sweeping through otherwise still rooms, leaving goosebumps on exposed skin and an instinctive urge to move. In rare but chilling instances, objects appear to move without explanation. A book sliding off a desk, a chair shifting slightly, or a door creaking open with no one nearby. These subtle yet unmistakable phenomena are most frequently reported in rooms associated with past tragedies. Students recount eerie auditory experiences as well. Footsteps echo down empty hallways late at night, following their own pace or mimicking their movements. The sound is distinct, rhythmic, and unyielding, often ceasing abruptly when the observer stops to investigate. Whispered voices, barely perceptible, are sometimes reported emanating from stairwells, libraries, or empty dorm lounges. These whispers rarely form coherent words, instead manifesting as fragmented syllables or distant calls, like remnants of conversations that have carried through time. Some students claim they have heard their own names called in these whispered tones, causing a jolt of fear that lingers long after the sound fades. Stairwells in particular have garnered a reputation for concentrated paranormal activity. Certain staircases are described as feeling charged or suffused with a palpable sense of dread. Students venturing down these stairwells report an instinctive unease, a sensation of pressure against their chest, and the perception that someone or something is following them. In some cases, shadows appear to move independently along the walls, vanishing when approached, leaving behind only the echo of a movement that defies physical explanation. The experience is disorienting and intense, creating a visceral awareness that the past is ever present. Quietly observing those who traverse these spaces, faculty and staff who spend long hours on campus have similarly reported unsettling encounters. Custodial workers note doors opening or closing without cause, lights flickering unpredictably, and the sensation of being touched by something unseen. Professors working late in empty lecture halls sometimes feel sudden drops in temperature or hear faint scratching and movement from areas where no person is present. Even administrative offices are not immune. Objects shift, and fleeting shadows occasionally appear in peripheral vision. prompting a blend of curiosity and unease among those who have long inhabited these spaces. Some students describe a psychological weight accompanying their experiences. The presence of lingering sorrow seems to interact with human emotion, amplifying feelings of isolation, anxiety, or melancholy. Individuals already experiencing stress, homesickness, or personal struggle report heightened sensitivity to the college's haunted reputation. For them, a creaking floorboard or a sudden draft is more than a coincidence, is a tangible manifestation of a space imbued with grief. A silent witness to lives that ended tragically within its walls. The college's architecture seems to contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Reed's historic brick buildings, narrow hallways, and interconnected dormitories create an environment where sound carries in unusual ways. Footsteps, whispers, and creaks echo unnaturally, amplifying the perception of presence. Stairwells with limited lighting intensify shadows, transforming ordinary spaces into corridors of tension and uncertainty. Over the years, students have learned to navigate these areas with a mix of caution and curiosity, aware that the campus itself has become an extension of its own history. Paranormal investigators have taken note of Reed College's reputation. Audio devices sometimes capture indistinct murmurs, knocks, or footsteps in areas reported to be active. Cameras occasionally reveal shadows that move without explanation or distortions that defy natural causes. While skeptics attribute many of these experiences to imagination, stress, or environmental factors, the sheer consistency of reports across decades and among independent witnesses lends weight to the claim that something unexplainable lingers on campus. Despite the unsettling phenomena, Reed College continues to thrive as an academic institution. The haunting is rarely aggressive or malevolent. Instead, it is subtle, persistent, and, at times, poignant. Students who encounter the presences often speak not only of fear, but of empathy, a sense of connection to those who suffered, and an acknowledgement that human emotion leaves lasting impressions on the spaces we inhabit. The campus becomes, in a sense, a repository of memory and emotion, where intellect and tragedy coexist. For those walking Reed College's historic pathways at night, entering dormitories, or descending dimly lit stairwells, the experience is more than a simple encounter with architecture. It is a confrontation with the echoes of despair and the lingering energy of lives lost too soon. Footsteps in empty halls, objects moving on their own, whispers calling names, and shadows flickering along walls all serve as reminders that the past is never entirely gone. Reed College stands as a testament to both human brilliance and human fragility, a place where learning and sorrow intertwine, leaving an indelible mark on all who traverse its halls. The Grotto in Portland, officially known as the National Sanctuary of Our Sorrowful Mother, is a place of serene beauty and spiritual reflection. Nestled on a quiet hillside in northeast Portland, the sanctuary stretches across 62 acres of meticulously landscaped gardens, dramatic cliffside views, and quiet paths that wind through towering evergreens and flowering shrubs. During the day, visitors come to pray, meditate, or simply absorb the tranquil atmosphere, drawn by the scent of blooming flowers and the soft murmur of streams. Yet behind this outward serenity lies a darker, more somber history. Over the years, a few desperate souls, overwhelmed by sorrow and seeking solitude, have ended their lives within the sanctuary's grounds. The tragedy of these deaths has left a lingering imprint, creating an undercurrent of unease that some visitors have reported experiencing long after the sanctuary closes its gates. Even in the quiet daylight hours, visitors sometimes speak of subtle phenomena that hint at the site's haunted reputation. Some report an inexplicable heaviness in the air, a sensation that the peace of the gardens is layered with something more somber and weighty. The feeling is often described as a combination of profound sadness and solemn reverence, a reminder that while the sanctuary was created as a place of reflection and prayer, it has also been the site of human despair. Paths that wind beneath shadowed trees and along the cliffside can feel suddenly isolating. as if the natural beauty around them is concealing a deeper, unseen presence. One of the most frequently reported experiences at the grotto involves the sound of faint prayers or whispered voices. Visitors strolling through the grounds in the early morning or during the late afternoon often hear soft murmurs, sometimes in languages they cannot understand, rising and falling among the trees. These voices are typically gentle and sorrowful, never aggressive or threatening, and they seem to emanate from areas that are otherwise empty. Some believe the whispers are the remnants of those who passed away on the grounds, their spirits lingering in a final act of devotion or reflection. Others interpret the phenomenon as a residual echo of grief, a subtle reminder of the human stories interwoven with the sanctuary's beauty. Candlelight is another mysterious occurrence reported by witnesses. Visitors and staff alike have described seeing small, flickering lights among the trees, appearing in areas where no candles or lanterns were placed. These lights often appear after sunset or when the sanctuary is officially closed, moving or pulsing as if responding to someone's presence. Some visitors report that the lights vanish when approached, leaving only darkness and the faint scent of incense or wax. The effect is eerie yet strangely calming, creating the impression of a hidden vigil being kept by unseen figures. In some accounts, the lights seem to guide people along the garden paths, almost as if the spirits themselves are shepherding visitors past certain areas, offering a quiet reassurance amid the underlying tension. The areas near the cliffside overlook and the secluded meditation gardens are particularly prone to reports of paranormal activity. These spots are often quiet and isolated, enhancing the sensation that the environment is alive with unseen observers. Visitors who linger too long sometimes feel a sudden chill or a brush of air that has no apparent source, as if someone or something is passing close by. Others report seeing shadows move just beyond their field of vision, only to vanish when they turn to look. These experiences are subtle but disquieting, leaving a lasting impression of a presence that is near yet unreachable, an echo of lives marked by tragedy. Staff members at the grotto are familiar with such reports, though they approach them with a mixture of skepticism and respect. Maintenance personnel occasionally hear unexplained sounds, such as soft footsteps on stone paths, or the faint rustle of leaves in areas devoid of wind. Security personnel patrolling the grounds after hours sometimes notice lights flickering, shadows crossing walls, or the sensation of being watched. While none of these occurrences have ever posed danger, they contribute to the quiet legend that surrounds the sanctuary, a layer of unseen history that sits just beneath the surface of its serene beauty. Visitors attuned to the sanctuary's subtler qualities often notice a combination of awe and unease. The grotto's natural splendor and spiritual significance draw people in, but the lingering energy of past tragedies leaves them with a sense of reflection tinged by melancholy. The experience is rarely frightening in a traditional sense. It is quiet, profound, and deeply affecting. Those who encounter candlelight flickering in the trees, hear faint prayers, or feel an unseen presence often describe a heightened awareness of life, death, and the delicate intersection of human emotion with the physical environment. The grotto's haunting is subtle and respectful, never aggressive or threatening. It manifests as an emotional resonance rather than overt phenomena. A gentle reminder that spaces imbued with human sorrow often retain traces of that energy. Visitors report feeling guided, watched over, or simply acknowledged by the lingering presence, a spiritual echo of those who once sought refuge within the sanctuary. Even the most skeptical acknowledge the strange coincidences and emotional weight that accompany long walks along the winding paths, the soft sounds among the trees, and the flickering lights that appear when the grounds are empty. Ultimately, the grotto stands as a place of duality. It is a sanctuary of beauty, contemplation, and prayer. Yet, it is also a repository of sorrow, quietly marking the lives lost within its walls. The delicate balance of serenity and haunting creates an experience that is both moving and unnerving. Those who visit leave with more than just memories of flowers and views. They carry with them a sense of the unseen, a recognition that even in places of peace, the echoes of despair can linger, shaping the environment and reminding all who enter that life, loss, and memory are inextricably intertwined. The grotto, in its stillness and spiritual majesty, remains one of Portland's most unique and contemplative spaces. For visitors who walk its gardens after hours, hear faint prayers on the wind, or glimpse candlelight flickering in the trees, it is clear that the sanctuary holds more than meets the eye. It is a place where the beauty of nature and the tragedy of human sorrow coexist, where the presence of the past quietly observes the present, and where visitors are reminded that even in moments of peace, the echoes of despair can persist, lingering like a shadow among the flowers and pathways of this sacred space. The Yaquina Head Lighthouse, perched atop a rugged promontory along the Oregon coast near Newport, has stood as a vigilant guardian over the turbulent waters of the Pacific for more than a century. Its white tower rises above the jagged cliffs, a beacon for sailors navigating the rocky shoreline and treacherous waves below. Visitors flock to the site for its dramatic views, historical significance, and a chance to explore one of Oregon's oldest lighthouses. Yet behind its pristine exterior and maritime history lies a darker, more tragic story. For decades, the lighthouse has been the scene of both accidental deaths and deliberate suicides, and many believe that the sorrow of those lost still lingers, manifesting in strange and unsettling ways for those who dare to visit. Keepers and staff who have spent long hours within the lighthouse's walls often speak of the heavy emotional residue left by past tragedies. The lighthouse, isolated and exposed to the wind and surf, has long been a place of solitude. While this solitude was necessary for lighthouse keepers maintaining the light, it also made the structure a site of desperation for some. Records and accounts suggest that a few individuals took their lives within the tower, seeking an escape from overwhelming personal anguish. The emotional weight of these events is said to permeate the narrow spiral staircase, the keeper's quarters, and the observation deck at the top of the lighthouse. Visitors to the lighthouse today frequently report strange visual phenomena, the most common being glowing figures at the top of the tower. These figures are often described as semi-transparent, illuminated with a soft, otherworldly light, and positioned at the observation deck, gazing out over the endless expanse of the Pacific. Witnesses say the figures remain still for long periods, almost as if watching for something or someone for out at sea. When approached, the apparitions vanish suddenly, leaving only the stark wind, the cries of seabirds, and the endless sound of waves crashing against the cliffs below. Many who witness these manifestations describe a deep, haunting sadness that seems to radiate from the figures, as though they carry with them the weight of unresolved despair. Inside the lighthouse, the narrow spiral staircase is another locus of eerie activity. Visitors and staff alike have reported hearing footsteps echoing in the confined space when no one else is present. The footsteps sometimes ascend or descend the staircase, matching the rhythm of someone climbing carefully but deliberately. Others describe fleeting glimpses of shadows darting along the walls, moments of movement that disappear before they can be fully identified. The sound of a door creaking, a lock clicking, or an object shifting has been reported repeatedly by those who explore the lighthouse alone, contributing to the sense that the building itself is alive with the echoes of the past. The keeper's quarters, once inhabited by lighthouse staff and their families, carry their own reputation for paranormal activity. Guests on guided tours or during overnight events have reported sudden drops in temperature, inexplicable gusts of wind, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched. Some have even heard muffled voices, whispers that cannot be attributed to the wind or the sound of the surf. Often, these auditory phenomena are accompanied by a distinct emotional presence, profound melancholy that settles over visitors and refuses to dissipate, no matter how long they remain in the room. The combination of visual, auditory, and emotional experiences creates an environment where the past feels remarkably close, as if the lives once lived here continued to echo in the present. The lighthouse's location atop the cliffs further amplifies the sense of isolation and vulnerability. The wind carries a haunting resonance, and the waves below create a constant, rhythmic backdrop of sound that blends seamlessly with the subtle whispers, creaking floorboards, and shifting shadows reported by witnesses. On foggy mornings or stormy nights, the lighthouse takes on a particularly spectral appearance. The white tower barely visible against gray skies, and the cliffs disappearing into mist. It is during these times that many claim the hauntings are most intense. The line between natural elements and supernatural presence becoming almost indistinguishable. Paranormal investigators have taken note of Yaquina Head's haunted reputation. Equipment has recorded unexplained temperature fluctuations, anomalous electromagnetic readings, and faint, indistinct voices on audio monitors. Cameras occasionally capture streaks of light or shadowy figures on the observation deck. Images that cannot be attributed to reflections, equipment error, or environmental factors. While skeptics offer rational explanations for many of these occurrences, the consistency and specificity of eyewitness reports over decades suggest that something beyond the ordinary inhabits the lighthouse. The emotional impact of encountering the lighthouse's apparitions is often profound. Witnesses describe a mixture of fear, sorrow, and empathy. A sense that the spirits are neither malevolent nor aggressive but trapped between worlds. Their presence a silent plea for acknowledgement. Visitors often report an instinctive need to leave the lighthouse after such encounters, feeling that they have glimpsed a part of history that is raw, unresolved, and deeply human. The spirits of those who died here seem to linger in perpetuity, drawn to the dramatic vantage point from which they once gazed, perhaps forever watching the waters below. Despite its haunted reputation, Yaquina Head Lighthouse remains a celebrated historical site and a beloved attraction. Daytime visitors marvel at the panoramic views, the soaring seabirds, and the lighthouse's architectural beauty. Yet for those attuned to the darker history, the lighthouse is more than a monument to maritime safety. It is a place where human emotion, tragedy, and memory intertwine. The glowing figures at the top, the echoing footsteps, and the pervasive sadness all serve as reminders that the lighthouse is not merely stone and mortar, it is a repository of experiences. Some joyful, many tragic, and some that linger in ways both visible and invisible. Yaquina Head Lighthouse stands as a testament to resilience, vigilance, and human endurance, yet it also holds a quieter, haunting story. Visitors who observe glowing figures, hear whispers, or feel the weight of sorrow within its walls are reminded that tragedy leaves an imprint, that lives lost are not easily forgotten, and that the boundary between the living and the dead can be far thinner than one might imagine. The lighthouse continues to watch over the Oregon coast, but it is also watched in return by the lingering spirits who remain forever at the top of its tower, staring out to sea. The Coos Bay Rail Bridge stretches across Oregon's scenic but often fog-laden estuary, connecting the industrial heart of Coos Bay to its surrounding communities. Constructed decades ago to support the bustling timber and shipping industries, the bridge has long been a symbol of commerce and connectivity. Yet beneath its utilitarian facade lies a history tinged with tragedy and despair. For decades, the Coos Bay Rail Bridge has been the site of accidents, suicides, and unexplained phenomena, leaving a lingering sense of unease for those who traverse its steel expanse. Train conductors, pedestrians, and local residents alike have reported encounters that defy explanation, fueling a reputation that is equal parts eerie and sorrowful. Train conductors are among the most frequent witnesses to the bridge's haunting activity. Many recount driving long, lonely stretches of track late at night, only to see figures standing motionless on the rails, silhouetted against the dark waters below. These figures often appear suddenly, appearing as ordinary people, sometimes men, sometimes women, but vanish the moment a train approaches, leaving no evidence that anyone was ever there. The encounters are unnerving not only because of their apparent impossibility, but also because they are so vivid and human, evoking an instinctive fear for the safety of those imagined pedestrians. Some conductors claim to have slowed or stopped their trains entirely, scanning the tracks for a person who was never present, leaving them questioning whether they witnessed a ghost or something else entirely. Locals have their own stories to tell. Residents living near the bridge often describe hearing screams on quiet nights, the sound carrying over the water and echoing off the steel supports. These are not the occasional cries of wildlife or passing vehicles. They are human, raw, and filled with unmistakable anguish. The screams sometimes coincide with foggy evenings, when visibility is low and the air is heavy with mist. People who have walked the shoreline beneath the bridge report an oppressive feeling of being watched, a subtle pressure in the chest, and the sense that someone or something is standing just beyond their sight. In many accounts, the eerie sounds are accompanied by inexplicable cold drafts, sudden shifts in the wind, or the sensation of footsteps following a person along the empty paths beneath the bridge. The Coos Bay Rail Bridge's long history of industrial use also contributes to its aura of sorrow. The bridge has been the site of numerous accidental deaths over the decades, workers falling during maintenance, accidents involving trains or equipment, and missteps along the precarious walkways. In addition, suicides have occurred here, often by individuals seeking an isolated place to end their lives. These tragedies have left an imprint on the bridge's atmosphere, and many believe the repeated human suffering has created a lingering presence that can still be felt. Some report a weight in the air, a sensation of heaviness that presses down on those crossing the bridge alone, as if the bridge itself remembers each life lost upon its rails. Ghostly figures are not the only phenomenon reported. Train conductors have described lights flickering along the bridge in ways that defy explanation. At times, lamps mounted on the tracks or along the walkway will flare or dim, unpredictably, casting long shadows that seem to move independently of any physical source. Pedestrians who visit the bridge at night sometimes see glimmers of movement at the edges of their vision, or reflections in the water that do not match reality. Some swear they have glimpsed faces peering from the bridge's steel framework, only to vanish when fully looked at. These visual phenomena are subtle yet persistent, creating an environment that feels alive with hidden observation and unresolved emotion. The bridge's architecture itself seems to amplify these eerie experiences. Its steel trusses, long walkways, and exposed girders create unusual acoustics, allowing sounds to carry in ways that are both deceptive and haunting. A single footstep or gust of wind can echo for long distances, appearing to come from a location far from its true source. This, combined with the natural fog and dim lighting of the estuary, creates the perfect conditions for the imagination to merge with the unexplained. Witnesses often report that the bridge feels different at night, narrower, colder, and more isolated, heightening their sensitivity to any unusual occurrences. Paranormal investigators have occasionally explored the Coos Bay Rail Bridge, hoping to capture evidence of the unexplained. Audio devices sometimes record faint, indistinct voices, whispers, or screams when no person is present. Cameras occasionally reveal shadowy figures moving across the bridge or disappearing at impossible angles. While skeptics point to environmental factors, fatigue, or misperception, the consistency of reports from multiple independent witnesses lends weight to the belief that the bridge is more than just a structure of steel and concrete. It is a repository of human suffering, memory, and unresolved emotion. Those who experience the bridge's phenomena often describe a complex mix of fear, empathy, and reflection. The apparitions and sounds are rarely violent. Instead, they convey an impression of lingering sorrow, the echoes of despair that once inhabited the space. Witnesses frequently leave with a heightened awareness of mortality, isolation, and the fragility of human life. The bridge becomes not just a crossing, but a site of remembrance, where the past asserts itself in subtle, sometimes unsettling ways. Despite its haunting reputation, the Coos Bay Rail Bridge remains a vital part of the region's infrastructure, carrying trains, workers, and locals across its spans each day. Yet for those who have walked its walkways or traveled its tracks at night, the bridge is far more than industrial steel. It is a place where human tragedy has left an enduring mark, where phantom figures, inexplicable sounds, and sudden chills serve as constant reminders of lives lost. Crossing the bridge becomes a confrontation with the intersection of the present and the past. A moment where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist, and where the echoes of despair persist, etched into the very beams and rails of this storied structure. For all its utility and function, the Coos Bay Rail Bridge remains a sentinel not just over water and land, but over memory itself. Those who traverse it may encounter the faint footprints of the past, the spectral silhouettes on the rails, and the sorrowful cries that drift over the estuary, leaving a lasting impression of a place where human emotion, tragedy, and the unexplained converge into a quiet, persistent haunting. The Hawthorne Bridge, spanning the Willamette River in Portland, is one of the city's oldest and busiest crossings. Each day, thousands of commuters, cyclists, and pedestrians traverse its steel, trusses, and lattice framework, unaware that beneath its practical purpose lies a history steeped in sorrow and eerie tales. For decades, the bridge has witnessed countless accidents, despairing acts, and unexplained phenomena. Stories of tragedy and lingering presences have been passed down among locals and visitors alike, creating a haunting reputation that endures alongside the flow of the river below. The bridge has long been a site of despair. Over the years, multiple individuals have taken their lives here, drawn by the height above the Willamette and the isolation of certain sections, especially during early morning or late night hours. It is said that the energy of these tragic events has not dissipated, but instead clings to the structure itself. Pedestrians who walk the bridge at night often describe an oppressive sensation, a heavy emotional weight that seems to settle over them, making each step feel slower, each breath deeper. This presence is subtle but unmistakable, as if the bridge itself remembers the pain that has occurred upon its spans. Whispers are among the most commonly reported phenomena. Those crossing alone have described hearing faint voices, barely audible, urging them toward the edge of the bridge. The whispers are never forceful or overtly threatening, but their intent feels unmistakable. Many pedestrians report a chilling combination of fear and compulsion, as though some unseen force is testing their resolve. These voices often vanish as suddenly as they appear, leaving only the roar of traffic, the creak of steel, and the rushing of water beneath. For those who experience it, the memory lingers, an unsettling reminder that the line between reality and something inexplicable can blur when tragedy has left its mark. Cyclists are particularly prone to unusual encounters on the bridge. Moving quickly along the pedestrian lanes, they sometimes glimpse pale, drifting figures at the edges, hovering over the water below. These figures often appear translucent, fading in and out of view as if caught between worlds. Observers describe the figures as human in form but impossibly still, their faces obscured by shadow or mist. Many cyclists report a sudden startle, braking instinctively, only to find the space empty when they look more closely. The combination of speed, motion, and the bridge's height creates an intense, disorienting experience, leaving witnesses questioning what they saw and whether it was real. The structure of the bridge itself seems to enhance these eerie sensations. Its steel trusses and open frameworks allow wind to whistle through at night, carrying sounds that can mimic footsteps, whispers, or distant voices. The lights along the pedestrian lanes cast long, shifting shadows, creating an environment where movement can be perceived even when none exists. In foggy conditions, the effect is magnified. The river below disappears into a gray haze, and the height of the bridge becomes dizzying, contributing to the sensation of vulnerability that many pedestrians report. Even ordinary noises, like a passing vehicle or a gust of wind, can be misinterpreted as something far more sinister. Historical accounts of the bridge contribute to its reputation. City records and newspaper clippings detail incidents of accidental falls, suicides, and other tragedies that have occurred over the decades. While some of these stories are public and documented, others circulate as whispered lore, passed among locals, with the caveat that one should never cross the bridge alone after dark. These tales often highlight patterns of unexplained activity, figures seen at the railings, footsteps echoing where none should be, and sudden, inexplicable chills that strike without warning. The repetition of these accounts over time has solidified the Hawthorne Bridge as one of Portland's most haunted sites. Witnesses also report subtler phenomena that defy easy explanation. Objects may shift slightly on the pedestrian lanes, such as a dropped bicycle or a bag, moving as if nudged by an unseen hand. Lights can flicker unexpectedly, and shadows appear to move independently of any physical source. Even when the bridge is crowded, some report feeling isolated, as though invisible presences are aware of them individually, tracking their movements, or silently observing from just beyond the edge. The emotional resonance of the bridge seems to connect directly with human perception, amplifying fear, sadness, or unease in those sensitive to the environment. Despite the unsettling stories, the Hawthorne Bridge remains a vital artery of Portland. Buses, cars, cyclists, and pedestrians traverse its spans daily, and most encounters with the supernatural go unrecorded or unnoticed amid the bustle of traffic. Yet for those attuned to the bridge's history and legends, the experiences are profound. Witnesses often describe a mixture of fear, respect, and empathy, recognizing that the presences are not necessarily malevolent, but are echoes of lives marked by pain and tragedy. The bridge becomes, in these moments, a place of reflection, a reminder that human suffering leaves a trace and that spaces touched by despair may never truly forget. For late-night walkers or cyclists who pause on the bridge, the combination of darkness, fog, and historical weight creates a potent atmosphere. The whispers, pale figures, and sudden chills serve as reminders that even familiar places can harbor unseen stories. The Hawthorne Bridge, while functional and iconic, is more than steel and concrete. It is a silent witness to human emotion, a repository for sorrow, and a space where the boundary between the living and the lingering past seems remarkably thin. The Hawthorne Bridge stands as Portland's closing testament in a string of haunted crossings, a place where tragedy, memory, and spectral presence converge. Pedestrians hear whispers urging them forward, cyclists glimpse drifting figures over the river, and all who traverse it feel the subtle but unmistakable weight of the lives it has claimed. In its height, its shadows, and the roar of the Willamette below, the bridge holds the echoes of despair, reminding all who cross that some histories are never truly left behind, and some presences are destined to linger, silently observing the living from the edges of the world they once inhabited. Oregon is beautiful, wild, and alive with mystery. But in its rivers, bridges, forests, and forgotten buildings, sorrow lingers. These haunted places are more than ghost stories. They are scars, reminders of lives lost to despair. When the mist rolls in and shadows lengthen, perhaps you'll hear their voices too. As always, remember, the ghosts of the past are never as far away as we think. Thank you for joining this chilling journey. If you enjoyed wandering through Oregon's most haunted suicide sites with me tonight, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the darker side of history. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep your lights on.